Hello, everyone out there in internet's world. Oh, good evening. It's your old pal Lefty and Chris, and we're going to talk about some cool stuff tonight. We're going to have a visit, hopefully from Daniel Kessel. We're going to have a statement from him, hopefully. He's currently in jail for something we voted to legalize. We voted to legalize weed in New Jersey, and yet there's still people in jail for growing and selling and all the stuff that we voted to legalize. I don't get what's going on here in New Jersey.
What's up, Seth?
Cool. I believe they're online now. That's cool. Hang on there a minute. We'll be with you in about 4 minutes. We're just getting started. Do you have a joint over there or something?
Yeah.
Oh, that joint.
You were talking about this one?
Oh my, hold on. Let me show you. Look at this. What do you got going on over there?
A rosin hole.
Oh boy.
I guess a hash hole.
Okay, we're live on Facebook. I believe we are live on YouTube. For some reason, they keep putting up this picture of the award. I'm not really flossing. That's what they give you. I didn't put that up. I'm really not flossing.
Flossy.
It's very flossy of me every week to see this award, but I don't know what to do about that. Oh, okay. He's getting on the phone any second, so I will just jump out of the. I'll jump out of this. So don't worry. No worries. Here, let me fix this. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Well, let me fix that too if there's a issue with that. Echo cancellation. Good. There we go. Okay. Hello? Is anybody out there? Is anybody? Anybody out there? Is there anybody out there? Is there anybody out there?
I'm here. I'm waiting for Dan to call back. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Oh, there you go. I hear you. Cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to find a phone charger for my new flip phone because I don't have my iPhone anymore. I'm just waiting for Dan to call in.
Oh, okay, cool. And who's this? Who am I speaking with?
My name's Corey.
Oh, hi, Corey. I'm Lefty. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Lefty. Nice to meet you.
Are you friends with Dan?
I'm his girlfriend.
Okay, good. I don't know okay. All right. So you've been going through this with him. You understand. Oh, it's
yeah, we were rated together. So yeah, it's been a journey.
How has this affected you?
I mean, in a lot of aspects, but as of right now, I mean, we're doing all right.
Okay.
It's been a lot. It's definitely an experience I have not had before, but it's been a great learning experience.
Yeah, it's traumatizing.
Yeah, the hearing certain noises in the grocery store and like yeah, I start to like freak out a little bit. It's like, oh nope, it's just allowed and it's all right. So it's been a lot to, I guess, like cope with, but it's not the end of the world. I guess it's just the beginning of a new one.
Right. I don't want to ask Dan too many questions. I kind of just would, see if he wants to make a statement or whatever, because I don't think anything he says is going to be helpful to his case. So unless he wants to make like a statement, like I don't want to interview him as a Q&A. I really don't. I don't think that's going to be helpful to him or you. So
like I said, I'm not too sure about what's going on, but I'm sure he's definitely would like to get something out there.
Yeah. I want to give him that opportunity to at least talk about what the heck's going on, because I didn't vote for this. This is not what I voted for. I voted for everybody to have farmers markets and open weed and growing your own weed and trading with your farmer friends. I don't get what's going on here in New Jersey. It's really kind of corrupt.
Here he is.
Please take call from Daniel Kessel. An inmate at the Ocean County Jail. This call will be monitored and recorded. If you wish to block any future call, thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hello. Hey. Hey, I just gotta figure out where my microphone is on my MacBook, but just let me know if you guys can hear him.
Okay. That's better. That's a little better.
What's better? Let's see.
I can hear him a little bit now.
Where did you boop, boop.
Your voice sounded like it was pretty close to the mic there.
Yeah, it was a little better.
Right over here?
No, where it was before.
No, have Dan talk. So Dan, count to 10 and we can figure out.
Dan?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
Right there. Right there.
9.
All
That's
right.
it.
Found it.
There it is.
Got it.
Right there. There it is. Cool.
All right.
Dan.
Square.
All right, Dan, you can hear me then.
Yeah, I can hear you. It's a little low, but I can hear you. Yeah. What's up, Ed? How are you?
Hey, man. Listen, I don't want to interview you or ask you too many questions because I don't want to mess up your case, but I do want you to have the opportunity to at least make a statement because what's happened to you has affected a lot of people, and it's been very hurtful. And this is not what I voted on. I got to tell you, I didn't vote for any of this. This is crazy, and I don't get it. Do you have something you want to tell everybody?
Yeah, so I really just want to say, so the way they are keeping me here is they actually released me, ROR'd me on these new charges. But they are using these new charges, even though they released me, to revoke my bail from the previous 2 arrests. So basically the judge, I guess you could say he won and lost in the same day because they ROR'd me on these new charges. And they're using the new charges, though, even though I was released, I wasn't actually released because they revoked my bail for the first 2. So the main thing that they were using to revoke my bail was this, the new charges that just happened from last week, where they raided my house and found under the legal limit of everything, just like I had put in that post. And then they are bringing up a Facebook post of me selling T-shirts, not marijuana, T-shirts and merchandise. And they brought up a bottle of wine that I had posted a picture of, and I said, new batch coming in the winter. At no point did I tell I was selling any of that batch, and under New Jersey state law, I'm allowed to make my own edibles at home. So nowhere is there any sales taking place. In the discovery that I got for this new arrest, they do not have anything of me selling any cannabis products. It's all conspiracy charges. That's how they're. These new charges are all conspiracy charges. They're saying I didn't, because when I got out the second time in November 2021, they made me sign a contract that said I would not sell any cannabis, which I haven't. I've only sold T-shirts. I've had my tent set up in front of the jail on 2 street fairs downtown Toms River, and at both times it was only T-shirts and merch. They're saying that I sold cannabis products and that they're using that to void the contract that I signed saying I wouldn't sell cannabis. And then they brought up also a civil case from between the first 2 cases that I had, and they're saying the judge said that I was not allowed to sell marijuana and that I got arrested after that statement that the judge said. But that is not true. The prosecutor lied when he said that in court. The judge said that it was a zoning issue and I can no longer operate in an HOA. That is why initially after the first arrest we moved. So they're making false statements in court, and now they're trying to also pin money from the Venmo account that I was already charged with in October of 2021. They're trying to charge me with the same money in the same Venmo account again, even though I have had no Venmo. I do not even have a Venmo account, and I haven't had one since the second arrest. So there's a lot of corruption going on here just to keep me in the jail. But like you said, this isn't what we voted for. They literally said I need to stay in jail because they spent a lot of money on this investigation. I don't care if you spent $10 million on this investigation. The residents of New Jersey said, we're done with this. And why are they not going after heroin? Three-way call alert.
Give me a second. He'll call back.
Okay. Yeah, when they talk about like all these driving issues for cannabis, why aren't they talking about fentanyl and all these other opiate drugs? What about the driving limit for opiates? How many pills are you allowed to be on? Why don't we do testing for that? Why isn't that a problem? How long has he been in there for?
That happened on the 21st of February was the raid. So it was 2 weeks this past Tuesday that he's been there.
And no bail. That's I don't get it.
Yeah. I'm not sure, considering that the other 2 were separate from this. Here.
Prepaid call from
Daniel Kessel.
an inmate at the Ocean County Jail. This call will be monitored and recorded. If you wish to block any future, thank you for using Global Tel Link.
Hey, so they don't allow 3-way calls, I guess.
Okay.
What are they still off the line?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still here.
So basically, this comes down to this is a personal vendetta between me and the prosecutor's office because I have more support than they do, and they know that. That's the reason they didn't put out a press release about this arrest because the last time they did, they got crushed. At the end of the day, they have no chance at winning these trials. They'll never find a jury in New Jersey if they can even get a jury together to bring this case to trial. 70% of New Jersey residents voted to legalize and stop the war on cannabis. And apparently, here in Ocean County, they don't care. They would rather arrest cannabis dealers with money than go after heroin, fentanyl, and cocaine dealers because they need those drugs on the street. Rehab and all those other little halfway houses and mental health services that are funded through Ocean County need drugs on the street. Without drugs on the street, those businesses are no longer in business. Don't ever forget that rehab is big business. And I have the receipts to prove that Ocean County Prosecutor's Office, Berkeley Township Police Department will only go after drug dealers if they have money. And I have the receipts to prove it. So this comes down to just a personal attack on me because of what they assume I was doing, but yet they had me under surveillance and GPS tracker and didn't see me making any sales. Why is that? Because there was no sales happening. Because since I got out of jail the last time, I have not participated in any sales, and nobody has seen me at events. I've gone maybe and hung out, but I have not participated in any events. I have strictly been on the sidelines. But they are not seeing it that way. So over the last year, I have literally spent all of my volunteering here in Tom's River, whether it's with the food drive that my attorney puts on every Friday, or the Code Blue that is out of the Tom's River Riverwood Park recreation building. I have done that all winter long, but they're still saying that I am selling marijuana, which is not true. I have not participated in the sale. I have actively smoked. Yes, I smoke marijuana, which, yes, I am a medical patient, have been for about 9 years. But this just seems to be a personal attack on me and how successful Bud has been in the past. And just goes to show corruption at the highest levels of government in Ocean County.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, considering the track record.
So, yeah, they come after me because I'm an easy target. I don't hide. I have no reason to hide, especially the last year and a half. Since my last arrest on October 20th, 2021, I have not participated in any sales. And that is the main reason that they are holding me here, because they're saying I voided a contract that I signed on my second bail that I would not participate in the sale of any cannabis products, which is true. I did sign that, and I haven't participated in the sale of any cannabis products. They have me literally selling T-shirts. Even the prosecutor's own words were when they released the other co-defendants, where it seems that Dan is not a participant in this round. If I'm not a participant, how are you saying that how are you actually going to say that I've been selling cannabis? Your own words in other co-defendants of this case say, your own prosecutor said, I haven't been participating in this. But yet when my case came to bail reform, they said I was participating. Last time I checked, you can't have it both ways. It's one or the other. You're either in or you're out. And by his own statement, I've been out.
Dan, how can people support you, or how can people? What can people do to help you?
So I guess right now I'd be calling Governor Phil Murphy's office, Attorney General Matt Platkin, reaching out to call the Ocean County Prosecutor's Office, tell them how you guys feel that this isn't what we voted on. I would even say maybe some protests outside the jail. But right now it's really about getting the message out of how that corruption is that they're holding me here in the jail. Because let me tell you, after they denied my release, they let somebody out that held a gun to his wife's head. And they let him out. And they said, I'm the threat. I'm the threat, but you just openly released multiple people here on gun charges and one person that held a gun to his wife. But I'm a threat to society. It makes no sense.
How are they treating you in jail?
And so, I'm getting by. Everybody, I'm doing fine in here. It is what it is. Basically, I guess you could say I'm a political prisoner at this point, because this has just become personal now between me and prosecutor Bradley Billheimer, who says he's a Democrat, but he's not a Democrat. If he was a Democrat, he would agree that the issues that are going on right now, and he would agree with the statements I'm saying. He's only a Democrat because he wants to keep his job under Phil Murphy's tenure as governor. He's actually a Republican. And because, this marijuana issue seems to be very, Democrats are for the cannabis, Republicans are not, this shows you his true colors. So I'm actually being held here as a political prisoner, and the best way to get the message out is for people to call Governor Phil Murphy's office, for people to call the Ocean County Prosecutor's office, for people to call Ocean County Judge's chambers and let them know that this is wrong. Go to the newspapers and say this isn't what we voted for, because the fact that they said they spent a lot of money and a lot of resources on an investigation into cannabis crimes when 70% of New Jersey residents said the war on cannabis is over, is a big problem. There's a lot here in Ocean County. We have a huge opioid epidemic. People dying literally every single day here. And if they're not dying, we're having multiple overdoses. And when I was fully operational before my second arrest, overdoses were down 30% in the Toms River area, which means that businesses and rehabs in the area were losing money. So they needed me arrested so that they can line their pockets with more money.
That's quick.
Well,
Hello? Hello?
Hold on, I think some guy booted the main people.
sorry, I got dropped
Hi.
off for a second. Sorry about that. Dan, thank you for appearing on our podcast. We appreciate it. We'll try to get those things out for you, the word out for you.
Yeah, I mean, reach out to, call Nicholas Katari, Declan O'Scanlan, Cory Booker, Bob Menendez, Phil Murphy's office. This really comes out to just getting the message out. And bail reform has failed me in this issue. I'm not a violent criminal. I have no violent crimes ever. I have no failure to appears. They're strictly holding me on. They're saying I voided a contract out that said I wouldn't sell marijuana. And I have not voided that contract, because I have not sold any marijuana products. So this comes down, they're literally affecting freedom of speech by telling me I can't sell T-shirts with Bud Hub on it. Last time I checked, T-shirts were legal. And it doesn't matter what they say on them. I'm allowed to sell them. But really right now, it's about getting the message out, sharing this with, everybody, the governor, all your friends. If you guys know people that are in media, we got to get the message out to them. Get this story picked up by News 12. Let's show the New Jersey how strong the cannabis community is, because I personally know how strong the current cannabis community is by being involved in the cannabis industry over everybody in our state over the last 3 or 4 years. We're strong and we have power behind us. It's now time to put all that power to use and show them that, hey, we're not the problem here. Let's go after real drug dealers selling crack cocaine, heroin, and fentanyl, the ones that are killing our kids in this state, and not to go after the people that are actually helping people, because they're looking at me like I'm this problem, and I'm actually the solution to a lot of the opioid epidemic problems. They just haven't seen that yet. So basically, it's about spreading the word, getting the message out there, and stopping these investigations going into cannabis crimes. And the fact that they only go after dealers with money shows you that the government here in Ocean County is not a prosecutor's office. They're the mafia. Last time I checked, the mafia is the one that goes after people with money, not the prosecutor's office.
Wow. Well, Dan, good luck. God bless you, man. I wish you the best, and we'll do our best out here for you.
Yeah, I mean, do everything you can. I mean, like I said, just reach out to whoever you guys know, any contacts, anybody willing to help, from media to lawyers. We're looking at every option right now, because that the county here in Ocean County is doing here is wrong. And we need as many people to help fight back as possible.
We got Dan from Bud Hub on here. Can you hear, Mikey? How's that?
Yeah, I think I can hear now.
So,
Dan from Bud Hub. What's up, Dan?
Sorry. Yeah, he's been in there for 2 weeks now, at least.
how are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, man.
Obviously not. Obviously you've been doing better.
Is there any chance you're getting out soon?
No, as of right now, I could be sitting here for a while. My attorneys are putting in for an appeal on some certain grounds that they're gonna. They're appealing the verdict of. They basically put me on trial during bail reform without a jury. And bail reform is not supposed to be a trial. It's just supposed to be, bail reform. So basically, yeah, I've definitely been better. I'm frustrated. I'm sad that I'm here. I'm angry. I'm feeling all different kinds of emotions. It's up and down. It's a roller coaster. But I know at the end of the day, I have the support of the people. That's always been what's given me my strength. Is that I know I have the backing of the people. Even the people that don't smoke marijuana and voted yes on the legalization are sick of this war on the marijuana. It's over. We voted to end this, and it really just comes down to spreading the word, getting News 12, Asbury Park Press to write articles, just getting the word out there that what we voted on two and a half years ago is not what the county is going by. Like, there was a person arrested on 1,100 pounds in Bergen County 3 weeks ago, and he never even got to see the jail. They released him straight from the police department. But yet, when I get hit for conspiracy charges,
You have 60 seconds remaining.
because they actually have no proof I was actually selling cannabis products, because I wasn't, yeah, that's a big problem. And the people need to know about it. We have they used almost 20 detectives to follow me, and they found nothing. So why am I sitting here? Because I'm a political prisoner, and we need to get the word out.
You have 30 seconds remaining.
All right.
Yeah, I wish you all the best with this, Dan. It's a horrible situation, man. I'm sorry you're going through this.
Hey, it's all right. I always said I was ready to fight for the cause, but, it'd be a lot easier if I could fight from the street,
Yeah, well, God bless you, brother. We're going to pray for you, too.
Awesome. I look forward to seeing you guys out on the street sometime soon.
Yeah, hope to see you soon.
He got cut off. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Wow. The whole family's affected by this stuff. I mean, it's a sad situation here. This can happen to anybody, so it can happen to you. Just remember that. That's why you should all take part in these events that we have in front of the State House and fight for your rights, because this shouldn't be happening. This is not what we voted for. I didn't vote for this shit. I voted for farmers markets and, growing your own weed at a farmer's market and trading and selling. And why not? It's a fucking plant. He's in jail for a plant.
What's up, Mike?
What's up, brother?
Hey, man, nice to see you actually in the studio.
Thank you. It's nice
So
to see
I've
you.
been a little bit off the grid because I don't know if anybody's heard, but my Facebook got hacked. I've never been through something like that, how somebody could hijack an account. So,
Dude, talk about it, because they got me. I was one click away from sending.
okay.
Man.
All right, I'm going to say it right now. If anybody follows me on Facebook and somebody contacts you and asks
I knew right away it wasn't Lance. The wording was so weird. I need to use this money urgently.
I'm never going to ask for money over my social medias and never have. So what happened, and this is how it happened to me, and I don't know how it happened, how the person jumped from one person to another, but I got a message from my cousin. and I don't know how the person must have somehow got into my Facebook and saw what it was before he hijacked it. I'm just going to call it a shim, because I don't know if it's a girl or a boy that did this, because there's some smart ass girls out there that could do the same shit too. So I got a message from my cousin saying, "Hey, I need your help." And I was like, "What's up? What do you need?" And they go, "I need to borrow $300. I was like, "You're asking a person on disability if you can borrow $300? I was like, "Don't you think if I had $300, I'd probably be spending that money on my medication or doing something else?" It's like the wrong person to ask. And so then he comes back and says, "How about $100? And I was like, no. And then what happened was they actually sent me a Facebook Messenger, like a call. So it sent a call, and it brought up a video. It looked like my cousin, but it was mute and I couldn't hear her. But it was a video of my cousin talking on her Messenger. So then what happened after that point, I'm like, I was like, "No, I can't hear you." And I said, "Call me." And she said, "I'm going to send you a code so I can reset my Facebook because my Facebook's been hacked." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll send you the code, but whatever." So I sent her the code, and then I didn't hear anything from her for a few days or whatever. I thought she straightened it out or whatever, thinking that was the thing. And then all of a sudden, I was on my Facebook like 2 or 3 days later. It said timed out session. And I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" And it made me re-log in. And when I went to go re-log in, they had changed not only my contact number, but also my emails. So your rescue side of where you can recover your Facebook program, they had gone in there and changed those two things. And I'm putting it out there right now. If anybody can get a hold of anybody at Facebook, good luck. I guarantee you right now, Facebook is Mark Zuckerberg, and it's AI. It's got to be AI, because if you go on there and look Facebook recovery and do all this kind of stuff, it sends you down this rabbit hole that makes it virtually impossible. You can see the emails that they changed it to, but not complete emails. You can see that they've even changed the number, but it won't let you, for some reason, it won't let you recover. And I tried for like 3 or 4 days to manipulate, to try to recover it, and just couldn't happen. So I just gave up and say, "Well, guess what, Zuckerberg? You lost a Facebook person now." And I just gave it up. I was like, I'm not going to rebuild a Facebook account. I don't really care about Facebook that much. So I just said, screw Lance Scott, and he's no longer around anymore. And all those memories are gone. And if I need to find those pictures and something, I've got a computer that has pretty much every photo since like 1999 on it. So I didn't give a shit. But yeah, if anybody gets a request, and this is shows through your messenger, if anybody asks you for money, you should first think in your head, who is this person? Do I have their phone number? Like Lefty, he reached out to me and says, "Hey man, what's up?" And I was like, "Don't give him any." And that first thing I said to him is like, "Facebook's been hacked. Don't give him money." But not everybody's smart, because my cousin sent him $300, and then I got a buddy out in California sent him $300, and I'm like that, and I'm pissed. I was like so pissed because there's no way to recover that Facebook account. There's just no way. It's locked down. I can go to it. I can see it. Nobody's doing any updates or posting anything, but he didn't care about that. He wanted my messenger, and sure as shit. It was instantaneous too. And I can tell you right now, I can gauge now who are my smart friends and who are my stupid friends. Out of the 100 and something people that I had, first of all, the people that contacted me, like I had this one friend in Colorado, my best friends, Bo and Tammy in Colorado. Within 5 minutes of that thing happening, they called me and said, "Hey man, what's up?" It's like, and I go, and I said the same thing. Every time I'm just a strange call these days. Every time I see on my phone, it's like I hadn't heard from this person in a while. When I answer the phone, it goes, "Facebook's been hacked. Don't give them money. And if you did, you're an idiot." And so far it's $600, and it could be more. I don't know. People, I don't know. But yeah, that's a new one out there I haven't heard of. And I've never been hacked in all the years that I've been on computers since like mid 80s. Like, I think I got my first computer-ish type thing that we programmed in 1982. I've never been hacked. I've, never had a problem with security or anything. This is the first time that somebody snuck in through Facebook. So if it's that open of a platform and somebody's got it to where they can do this new scam, that's horrible, man, because the majority of people, they're asking, it's like when Jen had her credit card skimmed. And the thing that everybody needs to watch out on that is they're doing it now where they're only going to charge your credit card like $1 or like, small amounts. So you look at it and goes, oh, that's only $1. That must be something that I don't, whatever. And you don't really think of it. Well, they hit one of Jen's rapid cards or whatever that she had. And in one day, she was all over the United States. She'd been in 5 or 6 different states all within 1 minute. Which call in is like, how is this possible? There's a charge in Vegas. There's a charge in California. There's one on the East Coast. There's one in Florida. There's one out of Colorado. It's like, this is not possible. And so that's how, and then you go through the whole process of turning off your card and have to get a new one. But yeah, this was my first one being touched by a hacker. And whoever that little hacker is, good on you, man. Because karma's a bitch. Karma is a bitch. It'll come and get you some way, shape, or form. But it's probably coming out of like Bangladesh in India or in China, someplace like that. Because that's where all the hackers are. They were in Russia. They were actually the number one hacker state used to be the Ukraine. But we all know what Ukraine's going through right now, and they ain't hacking shit right now. They're trying to stay alive. And so, but now I'm pretty sure it's India is number one, and then probably China is number 2.
What got me was the video. They had a video clip of you
doing what?
It was
please
you.
Please tell me it was rated PG, man. Please don't tell me it was some sort of.
You had your hand over your eyes.
Your hand was over
for
your
a minute.
eyes.
Oh, really? And it was muted, so you couldn't talk to me.
It was muted too. And then they're like, "Sorry."
Right there. And then what you should have done as soon as that happened, you're a motherfucking hacker. Give him his fucking account back, you little bitch.
That's what I said.
I did call him a little bitch, I think.
I was telling like Jen, it did to Jen. I was like, let me see your phone. I want to talk to this motherfucker. And then she's like, no, he's gonna hack mine. And I was like, no, he won't. And I went on there and I called him a wanker. I called him a whole bunch of shit. I was like, you're a little bitch, man, for fucking hacking my account. Whoever gives you money is a dumbass. And I guess they're not my friends. And that finds out my cousin did it. And I remember my cousin called me and said I did it. I was like, what do you mean? You didn't call me first before you sent some random person $300?
Oh man.
I was like, I've got to start. I said to start thinning the herd because I got some that are definitely gonna be caught by the lion as soon as we all start running.
One of the kids that I work with at work, he just recently went on unemployment, and they make you now for unemployment do facial recognition every week to make your claim. Apparently, like to do your weekly claim.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what do you have to do it on? Do you have to do it on your computer with
you do it on your like you do it on your phone or your computer, and it does a face scan and lets you know that it's you, and then you can get your weekly claim.
We are in the goddamn future, man, where you're having to just to protect our own identity. We have to have that kind of biometric scanning of our faces and our eyeballs and our fingerprints and everything.
Facebook could also do that. You could have your account back.
Well, I would love to talk to somebody at Facebook, but you know what happens if you go on Google? Just go on Google and it says Facebook recovery or whatever thing. You can get onto their website, but then there's these other websites on there that says, I will help you recover your Facebook and stuff. And I called one of the numbers, like one of the 1-800 numbers. And the first thing the dude says, like, well, I need you to do me a favor. And I was like, what's that? He's like, I need you to go on anydesk.com and download the app.
And no.
And immediately I said that, I was like, you know what? You think I'm a fucking idiot. I lit that little Indian dude up. I was like, I'm not giving you control of my system so you can come in and take the rest of the shit off of it. Are you fucking crazy?
That's an app that's existed for like forever. And it's like for like you can work on like let's say you were working on a business computer, you could do it from home, you know, just by tapping into the system.
Yeah, doing AnyDesk. But the thing is with AnyDesk though, that's where there is a I can't remember his name. There's a guy on YouTube that Scammer Payback, I think is what it's called. And they got an office, I think somewhere in either in the South somewhere. And that's what they do is they go out and they they know how to do that AnyDesk thing and reverse it to the scammers.
They're better hackers.
And they wipe their computers.
And then he tells them all their names. And then if those call centers have
the
videos to say, who am I sitting next to? Margarita.
Yeah, the last one,
and they freak out.
They got this chick's information, and she had on her computer all of her photos. And he pretty much went there. I was like, yeah, you telling her the restaurants that she went to, the food that she ate. Hey, is that your boyfriend you're with? So yeah, no, that's fun. That stuff is fun to watch, but it also tells you by watching that stuff is that this is an open system, man. This thing is on a network out there, and it's not as much as they want to say it's secure. It's not as secure as it could be.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm drinking green tea. We had a dust storm here, and it got me sick. So, but hey, what else has been up?
Shit. You inhaled a bunch of dust.
Man, I don't know I don't know. Have y'all ever seen Dune? The movie Dune, whether you saw the first one or the second one, and they had these big sandstorms that come in. In Arizona, they call them the haboobs or whatever they're called. Haboobs, or I don't know what it is, but it's the sand that gets kicked up and the dust that gets kicked up in front of a storm front. Well, something lined up in New Mexico and started blowing through the panhandle, and by the time it got here, it was just a wall of dust. I mean, it turned it literally put the sun out, turned everything freaking. It was horrible. It was horrible. I mean, and then it started raining. So not only is you getting a big dust storm, then it started throwing mud balls at you out of the air, and it just coated everything. Like my front window, I was sitting there and I was like, well, that's going to suck. It's just going to make this front window just muddy. And the next morning when Jen got up, she opened up the front door. She goes, I just fucking cleaned that door. I was like, yeah, that's a bad one right there. So, but yeah, so I don't know if it was dust. It was just a lot of crap in the air. And for me, I told Jen, I was like, I'm glad that we were blowing from the west to the east, because if it was coming the other way, thank God, because then it's all that stuff from East Palestine and Ohio and stuff, which I think maybe might have blown, because the way the prevailing winds go, the trade winds go, you guys might have got some of those toxins that were in the air out of that train derailment.
I feel toxic.
It might have blown that way.
That's just that's just the internet today. Sorry.
Hey, I like your new design though that you did on your border for your for the podcast.
Yes, more weed. Can't have enough weed. I don't have a safe word for weed. I need a safe word for weed. I can't come up with one.
You know, a safe word instead of calling it weed.
That's a good one.
So I heard somebody called it the other day. They had a good one. I forgot what. Maybe I'll think about it. But no, yeah, things have been good here. Oh, my only news is the state of Oklahoma decided to stay medicinal, and I mean it was over. I mean they were their vote was on Tuesday, and they were going to vote for adult recreational, which is anybody over 21. And
they said no.
64 to. I think the last time I checked it was 64 to 38.
But does that include the Indian reservation? No, right?
No. Well, no. The Indian reservations are medicinal. It's so they're going to stay medicinal, and that's why didn't we talk about how the Treaty of 1866? So the majority of the state of Oklahoma is actually an Indian reservation.
Yeah, so they can grow weed no matter what, and they can't. The federal government has no say over what they do, right?
Well.
No.
Well, we have to understand that also the Bureau of Indian Affairs is a federal organization. So the Indian reservations have an overriding body like Homeland Security, but it's called the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and they're the ones that dictate federal law down to them.
Indians need a bureau. I think they need a bureau. Can't have enough bureaus for those Indians, right?
Yeah. We need a bureau for cannabis cultivation.
Bureau for everything.
They probably just want a bureau.
Lots of bureaus. We have a bureau. We have the Disability Access Bureau. We're right. A bureau.
Yeah. That's why it's called bureaucracy. People don't understand where that word comes from, but it comes from that's what the United States government has created.
Yes, bureaucracy.
Through bureaus. And all that is just another layer of whatever on top of whatever. So like before 9/11, we didn't have Homeland Security. And then what they did is they created Homeland Security, and where they did it is that it's under the president, and then it's under, like how the government is filled out. The first Homeland Security is the first umbrella, and then everything else falls underneath Homeland Security now.
But we have a State Department. We have a Department of Defense. Why do we need the Homeland Security? Because
it's for us. It's for us. That's what it's for. It's for the homeland. It's for us.
It's for everybody. And where they consider for us is everything else is underneath Homeland Security. So if you look at that, there's a schematic out there that somebody's done about how it all breaks down, and Homeland Security is over everybody. So it has jurisdiction over the FBI, the CIA.
I'm over it.
Everybody else falls under Homeland Security, which is horse shit, anyways.
I'm over them.
Well, I mean, let's be real, people. And I'm sorry that I'm trying to turn off this red. It makes me look like the devil. But
you do look rather red in there. What's going on over there? What's going on? You
look at this. Look at this. This computer lights up red in here, and it's got red down there. My son's favorite color was red, and then I've tried to change everything to like green or blue or whatever, but I can't change the hard drive in there or his speakers, or I think I can change the keyboard, but I haven't figured it out yet.
It looks like your blood is boiling.
Oh, I'm mad. I'm mad as hell, and I ain't gonna take it anymore. But but other than that, I've been good. I lost 10 pounds when I went to my doctor.
Nice.
That was good. So I'm completely healthy. And my internal medicine doctor is really mad at me because I won't talk to the neurologist anymore because I think he's a freaking boob. So he's like, you need to go back to him. And I was like, I'm not going back to his office anymore. I'll call his office and see if they'll give me a prescription. And I found it. I'll say the last time they prescribed me those really expensive drugs, I think it's $207 for a 30 pill supply. Oh. I just found out today, and it's not covered by my insurance. Oh. I found out from my insurance company today that Dronabinol, aka Marinol, is actually covered by my insurance company. So now I got to call back my neurologist and say, hey, this is the only thing that's covered by my insurance company. I think you better prescribe it to me. And we're going to see if I can force my hand on him. And if he doesn't do it, I don't need a neurologist. I really don't. I mean, because they don't, let's be honest, people, doctors don't have all of the answers, and they never will. They will tell you that they have all the answers because they were trained in a school by the American Medical Association, and they've been told by going to school and looking at a bunch of books that they've got everything figured out. I'm going to say right now, the Europeans, the Germans and the Europeans, the Swedes and European medicine. If you live in Europe, you're getting top-notch medicine now. And then I'm going to probably say maybe Japan second. And then now it's going to be some areas of South America will have better medical care than the United States. Well, definitely. We're probably 4 or 5, and we made every. And I think if they gave the efficiency of actually curing diseases, I guarantee you the United States is not even in the top 10.
We lead the world in most incarcerated citizens.
Well, we lead that.
Yeah, we're winning that. We're winning that war.
We lead the world in global arms sales.
Yeah, and pollution. Yeah,
we're doing good at that stuff.
We're doing with that stuff.
Woo!
Well, you know what we need to do? We need to have a push out there for getting some better engineers. And I'm not talking about the ones that build buildings. We need those engineers, the one that drives the trains and shit, because that seems to be a problem in this country. We got these big, huge things that are driving down tracks and dudes are crashing them and then causing huge, huge problems, man. Huge problems. I think when that East Palestine thing said, I think it had vinyl chloride, and I want to, whatever it did when it burned off, it created something that was, I think it was some sort of gas, almost like the same gas that they put in gas chambers.
Dioxins, and that's cancer.
It burned up all kinds of stuff. Vinyl chloride was one thing, and there was a couple other chemicals. They were all put together.
And they didn't test for dioxins. They tested for other things. They didn't test for dioxins. And they're like, it's safe. It's safe to. Everything's
Meanwhile,
safe.
We've been in masks for like 3 years.
Yeah.
Right.
You remember Christy Todd Whitman in the towers? Remember her?
What was her?
She was the governor, and she's like, "Yeah, it's safe to go down to the Twin Towers after."
Oh yeah. See, you guys, and this is the thing I don't understand. And I tell my girlfriend all the time, I was like, "You should have really quit smoking a long time ago, because we don't know the effects of those asbestos tiles that were on the outside of the Twin Towers when that vaporized like that and created that dust. Everybody thought that was like dust coming out of the buildings. No, that was the outside of the buildings. They had these asbestos tiles that just were put into dust and vaporized, and then they burned off all of that stuff. Now, do you guys know what was in the bottom of the Twin Towers?
Super thermite.
Lots of money.
Well, no, that's exactly right. There were I think it was the World Bank. The World Bank had all of the gold, silver, and a bunch of storage, a bunch of safes were down there.
But wait, where was the super thermite?
Well, I'm not even going to get into that, man. Because I've had that argument with her, and she was there and I told her, I was like, I'm not saying that the towers didn't come down. I'm going to say right now, it looks a little funny when you put it all together, because people like myself, because I was in Arizona when it happened, I got to see it from afar.
It's still not as funny as Building 7, though.
Yeah, Building 7.
Well, they can't explain controlled demolitions. And everybody has to understand, if you're a logical person, like in which most men are very logical. How we look at things, we're very logical. We're very analytical. We like to figure things out. If I was there and I saw that shit come down like that, I was like, that's a controlled demolition. You could see it. You could actually see some things about it. But that wasn't that wasn't the accepted narrative. And then if you look at Silverstein, which was the guy that owned the lease on the two buildings that he just bought and had them covered insurance-wise for I don't know how many billions of dollars he had it covered.
Double payday.
They brought that shit down under a controlled demolition. Everybody got paid. And then on the back end of that, we got to go and invade and start a war that I thought it was a joke because
he was paid out with 2 claims because he considered it, the insurance considered it 2 different attacks.
Well, there was a double indemnity part of the policy that said if it comes down, because
how funny, isn't it? How funny though.
He bought it after 1993 because it got bombed that first time. He said if there was a terrorist act or anything like that, it would pay double. And so yeah. And then I think he's dead. He may be dead now because that happened a while back. But
remember there was that PBS documentary where he was talking about pull it. He had said the phrase pull it.
Well, they had all said pull it to Building 7. And they were using this excuse like the World Trade Center complex or whatever was destabilized. Well, what was in Building 7? That was where the command center was for controlling what was going on.
Right.
I think ATF was in there. I think there were some government offices in.
Yeah, it was like the CIA building. It was the Solomon building. And then on the BBC, remember the BBC when the reporter was talking about the Solomon building has fallen 30 minutes before it actually fell, and it's in the background. How did they know? How did they know it was going to fall?
Right. There's
half hour before it did.
I don't know how many people's Alex Jones.
So many things were bad that day where they couldn't clean it up. They couldn't.
Well, and then they caught those dudes. They said even in some news reports, they caught a couple of people coming over the bridge that were setting charges on the bridge, a couple of the bridges, and they caught them. Never heard about those guys. Never saw those guys. Why? Because they were probably, they were government officials. Just like we're finding out now after the January 6th thing that they said an officer got killed in the January 6th, on that day when the insurrection or whatever happened. Now we find out that he's still alive. So and to me, nobody's talking about. What's been happening lately, and you guys should understand this. Guess what they've been tracking off of both the West Coast around Alaska and around Hawaii and off of the East Coast?
Dead whales?
Nope. There is a section along the East Coast, a little circle section, where if you look on the airplane map, no airplanes are flying over it because there are Russian subs out there with nuclear weapons right now, patrolling not only the East Coast, the West Coast, but also around Hawaii. So we got the Russians right now with their little high-tech nuclear weapons, ICBM subs, that within minutes now, We don't even have you don't even have like, oh, a half hour we're all gonna die. No, it'll be 2 minutes.
Well, the next time there's an attack on the nation, I'm sure we'll have a whole bunch of fighter jets out over the seas doing some mission.
Yeah, we have our ship over there too.
And everybody to understand the bigger issue. Why are we helping Ukraine right now? Because it's allowing us to do the same thing the Russians are doing. The Russians are running through all of their old Soviet era fucking army surplus. We're doing the same thing. See, we're not sending all our new crap to Ukraine. We're sending them all our old stuff so that we can restock our other stockpiles of our new, fancier, bigger, and better stuff. So that's what I told Jen the other day. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna live every day like it's my last day. She's like, why? I was like, because if the Russians wanted to right now, the United States would be gone. But then also what happens with that? They do it to us, we do it to them, and then pretty soon the whole world's dead in 7 minutes, because it turns into India, China, Pakistan, the Russians, us, NATO, because we've got nuclear weapons all over Europe now. It turns into a nuclear winter pretty soon, and then all of a sudden we're back here in 25,000 years, and people trying to figure out, well, where did these guys come from?
That was a garbage song that Neil Young wrote. Let's Roll. Remember that?
Yeah.
After 9/11, it helped the government go to war and kill a whole Middle East. Thanks, Neil.
Thanks, Neil.
Neil lost me as a fan when he started being a part of the woke mob, and you could see it. Thank God Bob Dylan didn't do that. Thank God he was just made good music and just didn't want to get political. But God damn, Neil Young went off the. When I saw that, but you know what it did for me? When he was going to boycott Spotify because Joe Rogan came over to Spotify.
Right, like Neil Young. It's like Neil Young, like, okay.
Everybody's like, I'm not going to listen. And you know what ended up probably they have
no leverage there.
Okay, you can go off of Spotify all you want. I don't care. Never listen to your stuff anyways. There he goes. He just cut off his nose despite his face at that point.
Yeah, he gave the late night comedians a little bit to play with.
Right. Hey, did anybody watch that live event on Netflix for Chris Rock?
Hilarious. I did.
Did you watch Marlon Wayans? Marlon Wayans he did his, and I think his is on HBO Max. But Marlon Wayans did like an hour and maybe 15, maybe an hour and 10 minutes. His whole thing was about Jada and Will. He did an hour and 15 because he said it was his fault. He said, it's like, I got to, and everybody, because Marlon Wayans' special was called God Loves Me. And that's how he kept coming back to. He's like, I want to tell you right now, God loves me. And this is how I'm going to tell you how it happened. Because, what happened with Chris Rock, because he was friends with all of them. It was like, yeah, God loves me. Because then he went into a whole story about how Will Smith and he was going to hook up with Jada first, but Will was a little bit older. And it takes it back to those Dwayne, A Different World days when Jada first started out and stuff. It's hilarious. So I recommend that. The Chris Rock one, I don't know. I think he could have got a good hour out of that, but he left that to the very end. He only did like 10 minutes on Will and Jada, which I think he could have gone in a little bit.
You know what? I hear you, but I like that he only spent 10 minutes on them, because at the same time,
he's probably tired of fucking talking about it.
Yeah.
He's tired of talking about it. He's already, first of all, he probably profited from that slap, people. He did, because it gave him material. Everybody felt sorry for him, and it turned Will Smith into this big ass bully. So, and it's like, because if anybody ever seen Will Smith versus Chris Rock, I mean, Chris Rock's kind of a short. He's like David Spade. Will Smith is like freaking Muhammad Ali. So he was a big.
He played Muhammad Ali, and what was the joke? Who was the name that Chris Rock played in New Jack City?
Yeah, and he was
Boogie, whatever his name was.
Yeah, the crackhead.
Boogie versus Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, it was good, man. I liked it. I like the fact, because I hope Netflix starts doing live things like that, because I think they could bring and wheel some people in, because I looked forward to that when I saw that. I was like, oh, Chris Rock's thing's coming out, and then they say it's going to be a live thing, and I looked at my girl. I was like, well, we got something to do on Saturday night. and it was good. It was good. It was cool that they did it the way they did it, because it kind of helped out the Comedy Store. Because I don't know if you guys are familiar what happened to the Comedy Store when Joe Rogan and all of those they had a name for those all the comedians that Joe on his little gang of comedians, and they all jetted out and went to Austin and started their own comedy club out there, which they just opened up. Joe Rogan's Comedy Club just opened up in Austin, and they're banging it out there. Well, that caused the Comedy Store and then COVID as well. It almost killed the Comedy Store. So it was good to see them bring the Comedy Store in, which I know that's where Chris Rock and a lot of them got their starts, and then shot it out to Baltimore, and then it was in a big stadium. I thought it was pretty cool. I think it was done very well. But then you go look up how much you think Netflix is paying Chris Rock since 2018. He's done 2 specials now. He's done 2. He got a $40 million contract. $40 million to do, and so he may be in it for another one. He may have another one in him. So yeah, give it up to Chris Rock, man. He's definitely the GOAT when it comes to that. And he handled it pretty well. I think he handled it. I think he could have gone in harder. And if you want somebody to go in harder, go watch the Marlon Wayans God Loves Me.
Yeah, but he didn't have to go in harder because he was so in the right. It was just one of those situations where, I mean, I like that he gave it just that little bit of 10 minutes at the end.
Yeah, but then, yeah.
Because he didn't deserve anything more than that.
Man. You know what? I haven't even watched the Oscars, but I guarantee you once I came across whatever feed it was, Will Smith slaps Chris Rock, I had to go watch that thing. So, and then you start looking, it's like, is this real? Did that really happen? Did Will Smith?
I didn't even know anything about like her sleeping with the son's friend.
Oh,
I didn't even know that.
That's even better.
I wasn't following any of it.
That's why.
So after he explained it all, just the fact that he explained it all and put it out there like that, he didn't need to do it. That was
no, he didn't even have to talk about that because everybody Jada Pinkett Smith has a thing called Red Table, and she does her own little podcast that she has all her friends and it was Willow and she has her family on there and everybody sits around a table and she has people on and it's called Red Table. Well, it came out that Jaden, her son's best friend, she had what she called an entanglement with his best friend, which is like he was like 21 or 22, or I think he was young.
Jaden's friend.
Entangled? What is it? Like what?
Yeah, it's called having a fucking affair.
Like dogs when they get entangled, like they get stuck together.
Same
thing. An entanglement.
Like a dog in an
emotional entanglement. I don't know what word you used.
But I didn't know they put it on the internet like that.
Oh, they discussed it on a whole podcast about her doing.
I didn't know any of that. That's embarrassing.
And Will came on there and they discussed it back and forth.
Yeah,
about how Jada was sitting there.
How did you feel about this? Like she's sticking the microphone in his face. How'd you feel about me cheating on you with Jaden's? I didn't know any of that was going on. So they
abusive.
And what did Chris Rock say? Is he a selective rage or selective? What did he call it?
What?
Selective
Will Smith, selective outrage, and that is 100% the right term for.
Well, but then it also backs it up too because there is everybody knows what in the black community. You know what being on the DL means, on the down low.
Yep.
Yes. That's where over masculine black men have side dudes. They have women, but they say they're heterosexual, but they're also bisexual and they have dudes. Allegedly, supposedly, Will Smith is one of those dudes. And the whole marriage between Jada and Will is based on just a cover-up that Will's actually a gay man married to a straight, well, I wouldn't even call her straight. I don't know. But whatever. Yeah, it was good. Very well done. I'm going to give that a Chris Rock. He handled it like a man. Makes me like him even more.
Yeah. As
a person, because he did handle it in the best way possible, because he's just like, he sat on it for so long. In the
didn't it make you hate Will Smith a little more though, too?
Dude, okay. You know when I started hating Will Smith? Remember the movie Wild Wild West? There was
I remember, but it was not like
remember that was the movie
when he was driving that mechanical spider and shit. And
that was the movie that did it for you.
That was it for me. I was like, and Marlon Wayans goes into it too because he says something like Will Smith he says in Hollywood, there can only be one black actor that can be successful at a time. And Will Smith was that guy for so long. So he's glad to see that Will Smith has fallen off. So now some other black, Michael B. Jordan and those kind of guys can come up and start getting their bones, and Will Smith can sit down and retire.
Come on, you got Denzel Washington, man.
Yeah, Denzel's my favorite.
Denzel hasn't done a good movie since Training Day.
Wait,
seriously.
The pilot,
Man on Fire, the pilot.
The pilot was good.
Denzel is good. He's
Out of Time.
Out of Time. There was some recent ones. Well, the recent ones, he's kind of old now.
Equalizer's not bad.
Equalizer, come on. Yeah, there you go.
Book of anybody seen Book of Eli?
Book of Eli. Oh my God.
That one's good because that teaches everybody about what to believe and what not to believe. And that final scene, you watch this whole movie and you think he's carrying a book. And he's actually the freaking book, and he survived long enough so they could dictate the Bible. And then at the very end, they slide that Bible between the Torah and the Quran. And that means it's just another book, people. It's just another book. Don't get all wrapped up in it. So that's what they were. So, but yeah, that's good. Denzel is good, but my favorite movie from him is Training Day. Because that speaks volumes for what I had to deal with and what's actually going on in LA and in the LA Sheriff's Department, LA County Sheriff's Department, and San Diego Sheriff's Department, and LA County Sheriff, LAPD and stuff like that, because they do run. You realize how much money some of those lieutenants and captains actually make? Some of them, like in LA, they're making $250,000 a year.
Oh.
Like the chief of police is making like over $500,000. The chief of police and some lieutenants and captains in the LAPD make more than the mayor and anybody else in the city. So don't fool yourself who runs that city. It goes LAPD, then it goes down to the LA County Sheriff's Department, and then it's the fire department, and then everybody else falls underneath there. I've seen it with my own eyes, man. Seen my own eyes, and even talked to some of those guys. Like, yeah, I stopped being a punk and became a cop because that's where you want to make the most money in LA.
How much does Chief Zembrowski make?
I was going to say, we're going to talk about Chief Zembrowski.
Yeah, how much does he make?
You can find out. It should be open records. You can go out there and search somewhere.
Now, Lance, are you following any of this at all from any of the articles that have been shared, or stuff with the councilwoman in Sayreville who was murdered?
Man, I saw something about that, and I was like,
all right, let me fill you in real quick, right?
Yeah. I saw something. I read the article, and it's really hinky that this bitch got murdered.
There's a few different articles. First off, there's lawsuits that are that have, there's allegations of Chief Z saying the N-word, causing a hostile work environment for one of the black officers. The woman who was murdered at her last public meeting, she spoke out against the police, spoke out not in favor of the police. After that, the president of the PBA contacted the mayor through emails, asking her to please remove her from the police liaison position.
Right.
The mayor decided to reappoint her. A couple days later, she was murdered, shot like 17 times. Many of them
in her home,
right outside of her home, in her car.
Yeah,
she was in her car, shot in the face, which is like, watch what you say. Last thing she said publicly at her meeting was she spoke out against the police, and then they were. And the only reason why we know about the emails was because they were Oprah requested by New Jersey Globe, a couple other media outlets.
Right.
So they weren't expecting that we would find out about this. So then the, chief now took her seat. So the only one that benefited so far from this are the police. She spoke out against the police. Now Chief Z is in her seat. Apparently Chief Z is going to run for mayor, which would make sense because the police don't like the mayor for not listening to her requests. And if I was the mayor, I'd be fearful. I'd be fearful for my life.
Oh, dude, what century are we in? Literally.
And the FBI won't do nothing about it because they don't bust police. She's being strung along. The family seemingly is being strung along by a crappy lawyer,
a lawyer who's in the system, entrenched in the system, who was an assemblyman,
who will sidestep her perfectly.
Who if they're covering something up, it's a conspiracy.
This is how you do it.
This is
You
it.
hit them from all ends, all fronts.
The family's covered. The family's being
angles,
fed, whatever.
They're being glazed. They're being buttered.
People wonder why. And I like watching, cops, live PD, on patrol, whatever you want to call it, because I like to see how the cops interact with people. And I'm all for sending a news crew along with every police force in the United States. So you have a separate camera there to be able to record what is actually going on, and being able. Now you see why everybody is instantly scared as soon as the red and blue lights light up behind them.
There's been people who have been convicted with less evidence. If you put all this circumstance, there's people who've been get convicted of circumstantial evidence for murder charges all the time. Just all the time. This is enough circumstantial evidence that I think you convince a group of people that there's something going on, and that's just what we know as a public.
Yeah, but
what is going on underneath all this? Where's the investigation?
Because the enforcement side of that is what's called a grand jury. And when is the last time you were actually called to be on a grand jury?
Well, all these people are friends with each other. The judges, the prosecutors, the assemblymen.
Right. And the grand juries are, if you look up the 3 votes that you have the vote that you vote in for general elections, you have the vote to be on a jury whenever you get jury duty, and sometimes you get called in for jury duty. But majority of the time for jury duty, you very rarely will you be put on. You might be put on a criminal trial, but most times you're dealing with some sort of traffic or some sort of civil infraction or whatever. And then the third one is being on a grand jury. Grand juries, people get paid to be on a grand jury, and they're kept juries by the DAs of that area. So the district attorney can determine who's going to be on their grand jury. So they can pretty much say, I'm going to come to these people. Like, you'll never be called for a federal grand jury. For a federal case, those are kept juries, so they can the federal district, the U.S. attorney in that area can come and say, I want to convict this guy. And that's why your Bud Hub, who was on just previously, you're seeing that on the back end of how twisted, even though where they're saying and then it also understands his violation of a contract. He was using the word properly. His contract that he signed when he went on probation to do this, that loophole in there, they were saying he just didn't read it all the way through. He may not have been selling weed, but he's still in the weed business. He's still doing his Bud Hub, selling T-shirts, and that's how he got them. And when I was hearing that, I was like, oh, they're doing the same thing to him that they did to Tommy Chong in the Bong situation with him, which he's now just starting that whole Chong glass. They just started that up again. It's called OG Chong glass, and you can see that out there. But you're seeing the corruption on multiple layers. And for me, they just keep doing it, fellas, because eventually your little system, and this is why we're having the riots that we're having, or the people that are not actually being involved in the process. The most involved people that are in the political process are weed people. Believe it or not, majority of your cannabis activists or cannabis smokers are all registered voters, and they're out there and they're constantly voting for, cannabis or cannabis related medical marijuana or recreational marijuana. So they just passed out of one of our judicial committees here in the State House in Texas to decriminalize up to 4 ounces of weed. But that's where it came out at 9-0 in the committee. Everybody was for it. Comes out of committee, and when they're going to send it off to the State House to actually do and discuss it, that's when the lieutenant governor he won't ever bring it to the floor for a vote, and then it instantly kills it. So. Yeah, that's why. I don't know. And for me, like if I ran for politics, like where I'm going to be moving up to pretty soon, like the little town of Lipscomb has like 65 people in it. Like if I wanted to run for political office in this little town, I could pretty much run a campaign and probably get elected. You know what I'm saying? But do you really want to be elected to that kind of office? Because then you're given that talking to, Like there's the board of governors, like all 50 governors get.
It's the whole, are you with us or are you against us?
Because if you're against us, we're going to make life hard on you. And we're going to make it so hard that it gets to the point where, unfortunately, she was a Republican too. Most people don't understand this. She wasn't one of those BLMer, ACAB. She was a full-on conservative. They killed a Republican, which should put everybody in a kind of. Everybody needs to pay attention to that.
She was an outcast in the Republican Party, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of outcasts.
That's the problem. She went against the grain.
Yeah, well.
Yep.
I don't know what to. I was saying to somebody the other day, is like, I'm not Democrat or Republican anymore. I'm pure free. I'm patients' rights first. I'm pro handicap. So I'm starting my own political party. I mean, handicap political party or whatever. I'm pro old people and pro handicap people because that's where I'm heading.
Those are the humans I like.
Well, I think we talked about it before.
I can deal with those humans.
Right, because we're like the bottom of. If you're talking about the pyramid of people in this country, the people that are discriminated the most in this country.
Oh yeah,
handicapped people and old people. And I found a statistic the other day, and because my dad just turned 80 in December. Do you know what the odds are of you reaching 80? 1 in 11 trillion.
Wait, starting at 0 or starting now? Like
no. For you to reach the age of 80.
So starting at 0. Yeah.
Yeah. Starting at your birth up until 80, you're 1 in 11 trillion. That's your odds.
Started on your birth,
but dude, you already won. You already won the race. All the sperm that you beat, you just beat like millions of sperm.
Oh, that's guaranteed. I don't even know what the odds
You're
are.
A winner.
Being born. Yeah,
you're already a winner. So who cares if you don't win the next race? You won the race. You just came out of that vagina as a winner.
Yeah, exactly.
Just saying.
Right? Arms and glory up high.
I wonder what the odds are.
Naked too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, party, man.
You beat millions of other sperms, guys. Millions. You're winners.
The Family Guy episode when they did that with Stewie and Stewie's evil twin is the best. The best where they're fighting each other. The sperm are fighting each other. That's awesome.
Oh, really? I gotta watch that.
Yeah, there's an old Family Guy episode where Stewie and Stewie's evil twin, and they fight. It's fighting out of that's some good stuff.
Two sperms fighting each other. Oh man.
Well, it's just imagine Stewie, and they have him in there, and it shows. And I think they may have done it like almost like Star Wars. I think they were battling inside the womb down there and shooting each other down and trying to outcompete each other to get to the.
I think they had like Stewie sperm cells, like those Stewie's had.
They had a bunch of. Think about this: they had half good Stewies and half bad Stewies, and then they were fighting each other out to find out who was going to be the very end. And then Stewie comes out, and then later on, I think even in with the Family Guy later on episodes, they were doing like string theory where it was the other way around, where instead of good Stewie being born, bad Stewie was born, and it was fun. It's funny. Yeah, Seth MacFarlane is a genius from our Seth MacFarlane and the guy that did Beavis and Butthead, Mike Judge. Mike Judge is a genius from my generation. So, yeah, I was definitely I'm definitely yeah, that was a good one. You added any cars? It looks like did you not add any cars yet? I'm trying not to talk about weed, by the way. I think we should talk. Sometimes we can expand.
Well, check this out. I got a story here for you. Check this out. This is a good one. In Boonton, a police captain hid department technology and files in Tom's River home. He has been charged after allegedly stealing his own internal affairs records and computer hardware with police data from his department, stashing the computers in his Tom's River home. He's been charged with second-degree computer theft, third-degree theft by unlawful taking, third-degree tampering with public records, and fourth-degree falsifying or tampering with records. Wow.
Isn't Tom's River, isn't that where all the cops live? Isn't that one movie that Stallone did where all the cops live in Tom's River where all the cops live? The majority of them. Well, that's good. That's cool. I mean, it's just, I don't know. it's definitely a hell in a handbasket. So I'm just doing it day by day to make sure that it doesn't get worse for us, or and because it's coming. I don't know how many states we have already passed either combined medicinal and recreational. I think we're in the 30s now, 38, 39, something like that. So, and I'm proud that Oklahoma shot down recreational marijuana and kept it medicinal, because we need to have these states that are strictly medicinal. I think because once the recreational adult use comes in, they forget about the patients, and you can see it in some areas. Like, I mean, when I went to Tutankarry, my favorite dispensary, and I'll put it out there, is called Puff. It's right off of Route 66, because I have not been on the second floor of a building in probably 6 years. And you pull up to this dispensary, and this dispensary is on the second floor, and then there are grow ops on the first floor. And so they have these huge concrete ramps that just go right up inside. And so you're in it, and it's put together nicely. So, and that was kind of like, for me, is access. And I got access to the other couple of dispensaries, but I took my big wheelchair, and they weren't stopping me, man. I'd get up anything into it. So, but yeah, Puff had some really cool ramps, and I was on the second floor, and I was like, "Hey guys, can I look out the second floor window?" I was like, "Yeah, no worries." And I was like, "Yeah, I haven't been on the second floor in a building in about 6 years, because I haven't even I've been on flat land."
That's what I want. I want a ranch house. One level.
This one level. Well, you're going to have to get out of some place that's, it's hard to convince you guys to come out of where you are, because y'all are so established. But I think maybe in August.
I'm ready to leave.
Are you in Jersey?
Yeah.
You're all
where you trying to go, Seth?
I don't know. Maybe north. Let me go to Maine.
Maine.
Dude, I hear you, man.
Hold on, it's fucking cold up there, man. And if y'all have seen any of the snow levels,
dude, it's too expensive to live here, Lance.
Yeah, it's really
bad.
I've
already given that up, but that's why I've hopefully secured a travel trailer. Remember how I showed you guys pictures that I bought a shed, and I'm going to put a studio and everything up in Lipscomb, and I'm just going to build out a nice studio up there. But if you want to come out west, man, and when I say come out west, you've got to cross the Mississippi River, because 80% of the population of the United States lives on your side of the coast. So if you think about that for a minute, you come this way, as soon as you get to the Mississippi River and you cross over it, 20% of the population of the United States lives on the other side of the Mississippi River. So there's tons of space out here, tons of space.
That's the thing too, is I never really went to the West Coast. I never explored that area yet. I've explored Maine.
Don't fly to California or Oregon or Washington. You got to get on. You got to go. You have to. What you want to do is you want to follow Route 66. You come out of New York, New Jersey, go to that Pennsylvania Turnpike, and then do your way down and try to hit Route 66 and shoot I-40 across, or go I-70 or I-80 or something like that. And then once you get out there, once you leave, it's like once you get on the other side of the Mississippi River, you start getting into these vast sections, like up in Montana and Wyoming, where there's nobody. I might like that.
It's a nice motorcycle ride, Seth.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, there's been some people that have done it. I don't know what the
stoplights. Yeah, just keep going.
And out there in those areas like Montana, Wyoming, and things like that, and when the weather's nice, no cops, no nothing. People doing 100. And I think out in some of those areas, at one point in time, I think it was either Montana or Wyoming, didn't have a speed limit. When everybody was changing their speed limits off of 55, Wyoming and Montana said, we're just not going to have a speed limit, because we don't have the ability to enforce it out there anyways. And so people were doing over 100 out there. In Texas, in some areas there's one place outside of San Antonio. Once you get outside of San Antonio, it goes up to 85. And you're just like, 85? My car, I don't want to do 85. It's dangerous.
I don't know if I would abuse the speed, but I just feel like we're too congested in New Jersey.
You guys are. And that's why I have a Jersey girl, man. That's how I'm into this. She's in the other room, but She moved out to California because she wanted to be away from that out there. She didn't want to be a part of the. She says it's great that the subway is not in her life anymore. She says that's like the best thing ever. Like not having to go subterranean to get across town and do this stuff. And she was big time in and out of New Jersey. She's born in Bayonne, so born around there somewhere. I don't even know. I'm trying to get her out there. We're getting out of this house in August. We've made that. I said that cutoff is like, no, I want, now that my son is no longer here, we're getting out of here. We're going to get into a travel trailer, set up a shed out there so I can put my stuff in, run electrical to that. And then I can start expanding out there because my parents aren't going to be around much longer. They're really not. They're 80. So they're in that 11 trillion odds. And so, you know, my dad could live to be 105. And if he does, man, God bless him. But he's not going to be a happy person at 105. Nobody can be happy at 100.
I like New Jersey. Like, we get the 4 seasons, but I just feel I need something different.
We're both the perfect candidates to get the hell out of the state.
I don't think. Here's the thing.
Let's go, Mike.
I don't think
Literally.
You should.
Why are we waiting, Seth?
You should test those theories by taking a trip.
If you don't think about it, you'll never do it either.
Yeah. The only reason why is, you know, I have my.
You just got to.
Nothing holding you here.
Exactly. I would
Nothing.
be out. I would be gone.
You know, and lately I've been thinking about it. It's work stress.
The land speed record is 27 hours to go from New York to LA. I think it's 24 hours now that they got broke during COVID. So it takes about 40 hours if you didn't stop driving to drive from New York to LA. Now, you don't have to take it that fast, but peel yourself off like 2 weeks. Peel yourselves off like 3 weeks, save up some money, and just say, hey, I want to take a trip. And then get in your car, whatever you're doing, and just travel across the United States, and then start looking around, because I can guarantee you every state, every time you stop in a different state, it's like going to a different country. It's a different set of laws. There's a different set of
Seth, you know how to weld. I know how to do awnings. Let's do this.
We can make it, Mike. I'm telling you.
Let's go.
Well, there's a big need for people that have a trade. If you know how to weld, you can have a job around here anytime you want, because they'll just put you to work
anywhere. That's the other thing. That's why I'm saying you're a perfect candidate, Seth. You could go anywhere.
I have a
and I don't have like kids or anything. I mean, the only thing in Jersey is my mom.
Everyone's got a mom, and the mom, you know, is going to live somewhere. Doesn't mean you have
any other siblings?
Yeah, I would still visit her. And
well, I'm saying, do you have any other siblings to take care of your mom? Because your mom's probably not too young.
I don't. I have 2, actually, crazy story. I have 2 full-blooded sisters that I've never met. They were adopted when I was adopted, but they don't know my mom, so they couldn't take care of her. But that was a cool story.
I would track them girls down.
Yeah. Well, definitely.
I would say, hey, you need to get to know your real biological mom.
Right. So take the 3 days, and in this telecommunication modern era, you'll find them.
But no, it would be a good thing for you to do. Just take a trip and go see the rest of the world, because that's how I had to get her out of California, because she was stuck in California. She was like, I don't want to leave California. This is the best place ever, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, it was great, probably in like 2005, 2006, but it's gradually morphed into this crazy world out there with fentanyl and meth. Meth is crazy out there, and drugs, and
I've seen videos.
There's a guy called German in Venice. I think it's his name. German in Venice is his YouTube channel. He was the first one that put out the Venice homeless problem and showed. Good dab for you, man. Good for you.
Chris, what were you saying?
So I have a buddy that he recovered from pharmaceuticals. Like, he was addicted to pharmaceuticals, and he ended up, like, he's a photographer. So now he just travels the country.
Mm-hmm.
Just takes pictures and sells his prints on Etsy or whatever, and that's how he gets by, and that's how he does it. And like right now, he's actually like, I don't know if he still is, but he was in Mexico. Just he has a van, and he like decked it out. He has like, you know, a bed, you know.
That's what I want to do. Literally, like a nice van, deck like, it out, live in it.
Like where like the
just
table comes
get rid of my apartment. Literally,
live in a van.
Do the van life stuff. That's a little dangerous, man, to be down in Mexico. Y'all just saw what recently happened down in Matamoros. There were 4 U.S. citizens went down there, and they killed 2, and 2 of them survived. They had driven. I don't know where they had driven from, but they drove across the border into Matamoros, which is down near Brownsville. So if you look at the tip of Texas, that's down at the very bottom. Most people know where South Padre Island is. That's down there. They drove across into Matamoros, and then as soon as they crossed the border, some cartel members came out of nowhere, must have shot the two dudes. I don't know if they shot two dudes or however it was, but then I guess I haven't even looked to see if the two females survived. And today or the other day, maybe today, the cartel that was responsible for that situation, they just turned over the 5 guys that were responsible for that and said, "Hey, we had nothing to do with this. These are the 5 guys," and they basically turned them over to the authorities so that they can deal with them. Because that's causing a big stink down here. But who cares? Joe Biden doesn't care about the border. Nobody does.
I've heard that like Americans cross the border to Mexico to get like cheaper pharmaceuticals
all the time.
Not anymore. You want to know what the majority of the pharmaceuticals in Mexico have in them?
Fentanyl. But they still do it. They still do it, Lance. They know they're getting fentanyl. A lot of people.
Don't do it. Don't fucking do it. You're putting yourself because in Mexico that used to whenever I was a kid, and this is going to date myself.
I read I don't mean to cut you off, Lance, but I read an article that there's been a surge of people going down to Mexico because there's fentanyl in the pharmaceuticals at the pharmacies.
Oh, well, because there's these open air drug markets down there that remember when people would sell the sombreros or the puppets or whatever. They don't do that on the streets anymore. So when you go down there, there's just these on the streets, there's just nothing but drugs for sale all along right across the border, and a lot of people do. Now, how you're going to get that back into the country, that's all on you, but you're just getting fentanyl. And they've even done a test. I don't know who it was that actually did a test where they went into some of these open air drug markets and bought things as oh, this is supposed to be Xanax, or this is supposed to be this, or this is supposed to be that. They took them and put them in a GCMS.
It was 80% of them was counterfeit.
And they were all counterfeit, and they had anywhere between 30 and 50% fentanyl.
And you know what else people go down to Mexico to buy cheaper? Insulin.
Yeah. Well, that's also the new thing now is for me, I could cure my MS if I had $12,000 a shot, because that's where all the stem cells are. So all the stem cell therapies for a lot of people that have certain debilitating diseases and stuff, because it's not covered by insurance. So if you want to do stem cell treatments, you can get a hold of certain companies here in the United States, and they fly you to San Diego, put you up in a hotel in San Diego, which you pay for. And then they pick you up in the morning. They escort you to the clinic into Tijuana. You have your stem cell treatment, and they put you up, and then they bring you back across the border and back to your hotel. So that's how they're doing it. Because the stem cell limitations that we can only do 14 lines of stem cells here in the United States, which is not really the kind of stem cells, they've outlawed the fetal stem cells and stuff that you really need to actually cure some of your cure stuff. That's in Colombia now. One of the main places to go get stem cell treatments is in Bogota, Colombia. So, but yeah, I wouldn't. If you want your drugs that bad and you got to cross, I don't know what it's like in Canada, because that's what I heard everybody used to do up in y'all's area. They just drive across, go up to Buffalo and shoot into Toronto and buy medication.
Same thing with insulin. Yeah, remember Bernie Sanders? Remember he did brought a whole bunch of people over to the Canadian border and got them insulin. It was something like $92 for an insulin pen in the United States, costs something like $11 in Canada, and costs $1.50 in Mexico.
Right. Yeah, no, our
same companies,
crazy.
Same companies, yeah. How they justify that?
That was whatever that Skekel guy. Remember that Skekel guy that
Martin Shkreli.
Shkreli, the one that did it for whatever drug he did, and then he pissed them all off, and he's like, "Oh, you can't do that." And then they took
an $8 drug and turned it into $800.
Right. Yeah, but that's what we're seeing
and
right
then mocked everybody for doing it, and then just literally mocked people.
Right. Military industrial complex. You got the political industrial complex. You got the big pharma. You got all of these, because that's what we're just finding out now, because the whole lab leak theory has proven true now, that COVID did come from a Wuhan lab for coronavirus. It was,
Remember that dude Martin Scully bought the $2 million Wu-Tang album?
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah, and I don't know who has it now. Somebody has it now.
The federal agents confiscated it.
Yeah, and then they sold it. They sold
it. Did?
Yeah, and I think it's in a hotel in Sweden or something. The one thing that that the federal government just did is it's cashing out $1 billion of Bitcoin from Silk Road. When they confiscated all the guy from Silk Road, they
Ross Uberk or whatever his name is.
Yeah,
that was like the original Silk Road.
The original Silk Road, dude. That was. I'm gonna tell you right now, man. He had it down. That was awesome because that's what got me into cryptocurrency is because we used to do that stuff. But the thing about Silk Road, people don't understand when you go on that dark web part, you could buy if you wanted to buy like a rocket launcher, a Hitman, you wanted to buy stuff that you can't get normally, you could get it off the dark web. And I used to remember sitting around with my buddies and we had this one computer we used to look with BitTorrent and go on there and do it. And it's like, dude, we can buy a rocket launcher. We only need 5 Bitcoin for a rocket launcher. Could you imagine that? Having that shipped in? And people for a long time would get their drugs. And it was a pretty, I never got ripped off from it, but you could order cocaine, you could order LSD, you could order all the psychedelics off of it. And for a while it was
You know what's funny? I knew a kid, it was like 2012, and he was buying all sorts of drugs and selling them on Silk Road. And he had it down. He knew what he was doing, everything like that. Around the time Bitcoin was about $200, and he had $25,000 in Bitcoin, whatever it was. He's buying all these drugs, selling them. He wound up getting popped because he was just very loud with it. Everyone in town knew what he was doing.
Right.
Long story short, I ran into him not too long ago, and we had a conversation. It was like, all you had to do was just not sell drugs and keep the Bitcoin. But who the hell would have known? All you had to do was keep the Bitcoin. That was it.
Yeah, well, see, back then when Silk Road was a popular, that's how I was selling weed out of California, and that's how we were doing it. But we were doing it. It wasn't like Silk Road. We didn't do it. We had people on the East Coast that needed weed, and they wanted California weed, and the only way we would accept payment was through Bitcoin. And it was back when it was floating around $100 to $200. Yeah, I remember having 3 Bitcoin left over when it got up to $62,000, and I lived off that Bitcoin. Those 3 Bitcoin, I nickel and dimed them down off my Coinbase account for almost 2.5 years. Yeah. Yeah, there was a buddy of mine that he lost like close to 1,000 Bitcoin. He just had them on a hard drive and lost them. And I think there's a guy in England right now digging up a
dump,
digging up a landfill to find $4.7 million worth of Bitcoin or something.
Billion even. I think it's
a lot.
Something
a lot of Bitcoin. But yeah, that's the federal government just announced that sale. They're selling off $1 billion, which I don't know what that means because I don't know how much they actually confiscated from what's his name. I don't know. But yeah, and those guys are spending the rest of their lives in jail. And it's just
like murder charges and all that.
Yeah, that's that's where you mess up, dude. When you start hiring hitmen to try to take care of your problem instead of just saying, I'm going to leave this up to karma because she's a bitch. Karma's a bitch. Everybody needs to know that. Just leave that shit up to karma and turn your back and walk on, and that's what it's worth. Don't be trying to hire hitmen because they're always. Have you ever met a hitman in your life? Anybody?
Chief Dombrowski's boy.
Well, they're all
cops.
Yeah,
they're literally all cops. Every hitman that you ever see somebody saying, "Oh, I tried to get a hitman to kill my wife or off my girlfriend or off my parents or whatever," it always ends up being a cop. So people stop trying to get a hitman out there because they don't exist. They're cops. They're all cops. It's a trap.
So people online are asking about Delaware. What's going on in Delaware? Well, Delaware took a major step towards ending cannabis prohibition on Thursday when the House passed HB 2, a bill to legalize an adult use market. The bill passed 27-13, a 2/3 supermajority with bipartisan support. And the people of Delaware have overwhelmingly supported cannabis legalization, and we deserve to see our legislature finally make this important change in 2023.
2713, is that mean out of committee, or is that the total number of representatives they have in their state house?
It's a super majority, but it's not really bipartisan because it's only one Republican voted with it. It was all Democrats and one Republican.
So they only have 40 representatives in Delaware?
Yeah, it seems like there's not that many.
Jesus Christ. That's easy to get those numbers. I wish I was dealing with that here in Texas, because we have 450 or something. We have about the same amount as they have in the U.S. House of Representatives. Wow. Well, that's good, and that's what I'm saying. It's coming, people. They might, if the federal government was smart, and this is what they're not, they would get out ahead of this. They would deregulate, not decriminalize, not put it in some form of regulation. Deregulate cannabis on a federal level, and then allow the states to handle it themselves. You would see an economic boom in this country that would it's going to stave off, because right now with the housing's collapsing, we got high inflation. Oh, I'm gonna have to get back to him.
HB2 easily cleared the 3/5 majority required for any Delaware law that institutes a new tax, a hurdle that proved difficult in years past. It has taken more than a decade of work on the part of grassroots volunteers and our bill sponsors to get this historic victory, said Zoe Patchell. The people have always been the underdog in this fight. Now, after years of delaying reform, we're finally seeing legislative votes reflect public support, where proponents outnumber opponents 2-1.
Well, they're saying, I mean, like, the numbers have switched a long time ago. The numbers have been like, I mean, this is just like it's been happening, people. I mean, I don't know how long we've been talking. We've been talking a couple of years, I know, at least a year and a half, 2 years. And we had numbers in like 2010. And now if you look at all the surveys and stuff, it's up in like 75% people want to not only decriminalize, but do some sort of adult use market. So, and it's just coming in every state, and every state's different. I've pretty much kind of pounded that on people, is like, what we should start doing is building this nationwide network, so everybody has to understand what's going on in their state, what's happening in their state, and where you're at, so that everybody understands. Because it's going to get to a point where if they don't decriminalize it on a federal level, you're going to have this situation where, like Missouri, for example, Missouri is a recreational adult use state. Kansas is not. So people are you drive across, just literally driving across the bridge or driving across the border, all of a sudden you go from being non-criminal to being a criminal. And then people are getting pulled over, with small amounts or whatever it is. And then they're saying, well, where'd you get this? I bought it when I was in Missouri. Now you're getting violation of interstate compact laws, which gets you trafficking and all those other things that fall under that.
Yoke.
So that's where you guys, same thing in New York and New Jersey. I'm sure if you guys, which I know you guys don't have a problem finding weed, but if you went into New York and then got on the subway, whatever you bought in New York, and then you moved it over to New Jersey, if New York and New Jersey weren't working together, which they kind of are, I think what's happening right now is that New Jersey wants to kind of pull everybody out of New York, because that's why you guys have your laws that are a little bit less restrictive, and the licenses have delayed in New York, and they're allowing the licenses and stuff to kind of, I don't know how many licenses they've actually issued now. I think it's like 18, maybe 18 or 30. I don't know what it is.
That's how it is, though. We can't like bring our New Jersey weed to New York, and I don't think they could bring it to us.
Right, because then you violate the interstate compact, which is what deals with, it's commerce. It's like trying to fly into the United States with a bunch of fruit from, Paraguay or, Bolivia. That stuff has to go into the trash can because they'll say it's because it's no importing fruit and stuff like that, when they import fruit all the time from South America. But you as a citizen can't do it because it violates the interstate commerce laws and the interstate compact. And that's how they get you. That's how they get you.
It's also crazy though too. Like, you could take your medication as long as it's in a bottle over state lines, but I can't take my weed with me. And I have a medical jar and stuff. You know?
Yeah, that's why it's so convoluted, and that's why that whole deregulation on a federal level. Once we get it deregulated on a federal level, get it delisted off the DEA. First of all, we need to get rid of the DEA. DEA. Now we're finding out the FBI is DEA. Defund the FBI. Defund the DEA. Defund all of these organizations.
Ain't nothing going to change until politicians start getting hung in town squares, literally.
Well, you know what they did here in Texas? They just did it again. It always happens every legislation session. There's always one representative in the state of Texas that puts forth the secession. It's like, hey, we want to secede from the rest of what's going on, and we want to be our own country. It's sort of like a Brexit kind of thing. And everybody's, oh, that can never happen. That can never happen. It's like, it happened once before, and that's what created the Civil War. So, and I'm all for it. Let's just take Texas, and because everybody hates Texas anyways.
It was just called Southern United States.
We just create our own, the Republic of Texas.
Or Northern Mexico.
Well, no, Texas would be the Republic of Texas. We go back to what it was when we won our independence from Mexico, because that's what happened here in Texas. We fought a big war before the American Revolution, and it was called the Texas Revolution. And we won our independence, and we were actually a country by ourselves. That's why Texas can do that, because in our Constitution, we have a section of our Constitution at some point in time we can secede from the United States. We're the actual only state that has it in our Constitution that we can actually become a country again, because when we signed on, we left that in our Constitution. And so every legislative session it comes up, somebody did it again. And then that gets all of the yeehaw brothers out there and all the guys around San Antonio that have these big ranches with their big 50 cals and all their guns and stuff. It's like, yeah, we need to succeed. It's time to do it. It's time to do it now. And it's just, good luck. And then what would happen if that happened? You have to understand, all of your energy that you deal with, your fuel oils, your gasoline, and sometimes your electricity comes from the state of Texas. Most people don't know that. There are 7 major pipelines that bring in natural gas, oil out of the Gulf into the state of Texas, and then it fans out over the whole country. And we control your gasoline. We control your fuel oil that people put in their basements for their fuel oil. So if Texas became its own country again, we could just start turning valves off, and then we'd shut down the whole country. Electricity-wise as well, because if you come out here, like a lot of these farms out here, when you drive around, a lot of the ranchers signed on to wind energy, and they have nothing but wind generation, huge windmills everywhere out here. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens. If it collapses, because it may happen soon. Who knows what's going to happen? Because what we're flirting with right now with China, what we're flirting with India, and what's flirting with in Ukraine right now is that it may not be up to us. It may not be up to us. All of a sudden, they're going to start popping off nuclear weapons, which the Russians have already put onto the table. People have to understand that the Russian military has said, if we have to, we're going to start using nuclear weapons in Ukraine. And as soon as that happens, that's going to send off everybody's seen that. What's that movie with Anthony Broderick or whatever his name was, War Games, back in the day. It was yeah, it'll just be like, and there's no winning at nuclear war, because all of a sudden it'll trigger all of them, and pretty soon we got thousands of nuclear weapons going all around the planet, and then we're all done. Kiss whoever's next to you, and then we'll be all done.
Unless they're ugly.
Unless they're ugly.
Or have bad breath.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you think about it, we talked about 9/11. What do you think was going through those people's minds once they realized, like, there was that one Flight 93 that crashed into Pennsylvania out there. So there was some people that got up and said, hey, hell no.
You mean the one that was shot down?
Yeah, that was shot down.
Well, you guys are getting off into conspiracy theories, man.
No, these ones are the real ones.
Conspiracy facts now. I saw a meme the other day, and it wasn't a meme. It was Sam Tripoli and Brian Callen on a podcast. And Sam Tripoli asked Brian Callen, it was like, who's been more right in the last 40 years? The conspiracy theorists or you? And it's kind of true. It's and that's the thing with what we have right now. We have instant access of information, and it's hard to lie. That's why I think it's funny when people in the positions of power, they think they're pulling the wool over everybody's eyes, and then all of a sudden it's just kind of like the truth comes out eventually. You know, like with 9/11, I knew. I mean, I don't want to. You know, she lost her. I mean, her side of the family were firemen, New York firemen, and her ex was a fireman. He didn't die at 9/11, but after 9/11, my girlfriend, she had to attend those funerals, man. A lot of people died, and that's how they got everybody to go all of a sudden get mad and go, let's go attack Afghanistan. You know, let's go do this, and then put us in a war that was just. And I thought Bush was lying to us because I still can't believe that he got elected president, because when he was the governor of Texas, he was an idiot.
Well, he lost. He lost, and then his brother
lying.
stole Florida. He didn't win.
Kind of. He kind of lost. I mean, if you put it down, just like Biden probably lost, you know, but we won't know because it's, you know, according to the numbers, Biden got more votes than
you
Obama.
want to know who? You want to know who's lost this whole time? We all lost.
It's always going to be us. It's always going to be us. It's always an economic issue. You're not rich enough. We none of us sitting here, we're never going to have enough money to control that system. And it's just going to be interesting to see where it goes, because for me, I just pulled out, man. You know, you know me. I've been hiding in my bunker for, you know, years now. I pulled out of California in 2017. So I've been here for 5 years now, I guess. It's going on 5 years. And it's just because I look at what's going to be my survivability. You know, what happens if they start popping off nuclear weapons? What's the chance of me surviving? I don't live in Patagonia, you know, because there's a sparsely populated area. So I had to get out away from LA, because you're going to see all the big cities will be gone like that. Boom.
Yeah, we're getting vaporized here. We're getting
I don't know, man.
Quick death. Quick death. I'm ready.
I mean, it's just going to be, you'll look up and there'll be a big flash in the sky and you go, what the hell was that? And then all of a sudden, whoosh. You'll be like,
that easy.
Be like, what was that? Independence Day? Whatever it was. It's always one of those ones. It's either Armageddon, Independence Day, whatever. So cool. So yeah, I'm kind of upset that, I guess you don't put much stuff out on Instagram, do you, Mike? It's always on Facebook.
I put some stuff. I have a Bongholio and Bongholito Instagram that I kind of just use for like that.
I need to probably go on there since my Facebook got hacked. That's what I enjoyed about Facebook, because I got to see your stuff, you know, and every once in a while I got to see stuff. So, yeah,
you could always search for it on Instagram.
Yeah, I'll look for it. How's everything else been going? Everybody's been staying healthy. Nobody's been getting arrested. Everybody's been getting good weed.
I haven't been arrested. I've been getting pretty good weed.
Hey, how long did your backboard, your trash backboard stay up?
Oh, funny question. 3 days.
3 days?
Yeah, the first
who's the moron that took that down?
I can tell you exactly who took it down. The South Amboy garbage men. They're like, what's this?
What's this?
Well, you know the worst part about it was they left the yellow part tied onto the pole. It's like, well, that looks bad.
You know what you need to do, man? Now you've drawn the put the line in the sand. You need to start finding some of those backboards, man. You need to start putting more up.
Yeah, I wanted to, because it's also right by the school, you know. So help.
I wonder if any kids
to be throwing.
I wonder if any kids saw it. I wonder if any kids did it, and then maybe what you could do is use it as a way to maybe do a sativacross.org or put your Instagram up there or something.
I thought it'd be a fun way to help the community keep it clean, because we don't have those those town issued trash cans that have the lids on them, and the garbage truck will come and fork, and we don't have that. We just have old school cans. A lot of people don't have lids. On a windy day, garbage blows everywhere, and it just gathers up all over in town. One of the spots is my backyard. It's all clutters in this one area.
What did Lefty put on?
You're talking about something different than the brick you made, Mike?
Dude, that was even better.
Yeah, I made something different. I made like a basketball net, that was hung on a pole, so when you threw trash in, it would fall down. That was a garbage can.
It was a garbage can.
Pretty cool.
The brick was cool. I would have left that, but then it caused them to come out and fix it.
They fixed it. They fixed it. And when you would ride by at night, it was lit up. So you saw it lit up. It was twinkling. You know,
Oh my god.
that was success.
What we're looking at here is that we are hanging on by a fucking thread in our galaxy.
So is this our solar system?
I was under the impression that we were just like kind of like hanging out.
No,
We are a fucking comet. We're hanging on the ass of a comet, bro. So how are we hanging on? Look at this. How the fuck are we hanging on to this thing? Look at this.
Newton's laws of motion. You have to get into particle physics, and you have to get into how that works.
Yeah, but it's not going to last forever. I mean, look at this. We're precariously hanging on by a thread. Seriously.
Well, it's all in what you believe as well. Like, I mean, most people think Buzz Aldrin is a kook and stuff like that. But the older that he gets, he's been saying that, you know, the moon is populated by aliens and it's hollow, and there's even the hollow Earth theory. Have you heard this one, Mike?
I haven't heard that. No,
I like
The
this.
hollow Earth theory, man. There's some stuff out there. Just search it out in some old videos and stuff. And there's this one lady talking about how I forgot who the guy was that explored the South Pole, but they flew over the ice wall in the South Pole and flew into a big, huge entrances into the Middle Earth. And you go inside our hollow Earth, and they have a sun inside there, and blah blah blah. And there's a whole other civilization inside the Earth. It's called the hollow Earth theory.
Do you think there's any like crossbred, like flat, hollow earthers?
Flat Earth,
like aspects of both.
Well,
like,
no,
I believe it's flat, but also hollow.
I think the flat earthers are funny because they'll come out to places like here. Go ahead, come out to Texas, and you're going to start driving, and then you can kind of believe the flat earth idea, because it's in some areas it's flat, man. It is really flat.
I like flat earthers. They don't bother no one.
No, but then they try to convince you that it's flat, and then all of a sudden they start doing experiments, and then they prove to themselves, like some of their experiments prove that it's round.
It's like when anyone else says something stupid, you know, you just fight free speech with more free speech. You don't try to silence it, especially if it's ignorance.
Well, no, imagine how boring we were. Like, literally, if you think about how much access of information we could have had if we had the internet in its incarnation right now when we were kids, how much more interesting our friends would have been. Because for me, like, I didn't start realizing the intelligence of some of my friends until things like the internet started coming around, and you'd go to a party and somebody'd be sitting there smoking a joint or doing acid or doing mushrooms or whatever. And then they start getting into these wild conversations, you know, and it all started with that one guy come in and go, "Hey man, did you hear that the government killed JFK?" Or
what do you guys think about Building 7?
You know, and that's for our generation. Our JFK was 9/11. Because we all witnessed this. You guys probably witnessed it more than I did, because you guys are right across from, and y'all probably saw the building burning.
MK Ultra.
I was like on the turn of the cell phones and everything. Like, it was the green Nokias
Right.
with the game Snake. That's
Yeah.
like my generation.
That's cool. That's where I think it's we need to. Hopefully, man. I mean, I pray every day, man, that we're going to get through this. But
what were you doing on 9/11, Lefty?
I was at the auditorium in Bell Labs in the control room with a group of people in the audience doing a presentation. And when the first plane hit, I was listening to the sports radio.
Right.
I was listening to either Opie and Anthony Howard Stern or the
Jim
the
Rome.
sports guys. And they were talking about it. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here? And then when the second plane hit, I told them, I said, listen, I got to put this up on the screen. I hope you don't mind. I'm putting this up on the screen because there was a bunch of people. I had no idea what was happening.
Right.
So I put it up on the screen, and then the whole meeting it just went to shit.
Ended.
Yeah, that was it.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
For me, I was on this is kind of crazy.
My phone in.
I worked at an environmental laboratory with an ex-CIA guy who was a sampler. And he worked because in Arizona, between Tucson and Phoenix, is Pinal Air Park, which is where the CIA lands all of their unmarked planes to bring in drugs or people or whatever they want to bring in out there. And he used to work out there. And there was a black and white television. And when I was on the way to work, I heard it on the radio that a plane hit the World Trade Center. And I was like, you know what? That's not uncommon, because they've had planes hit the Empire State Building. I thought it was like a little Cessna or whatever. So I got in, and when I got in, somebody had set up this TV. And whenever the second plane hit, I instantly knew something was up. I was like, oh, okay, this is not right.
When I heard that the first plane had hit, in my head, I was thinking, oh my God, the people on the ground. Because I'm picturing plane hits the building and falls. I didn't realize it like ate it for breakfast.
Yeah.
Well, it vaporized because you have to understand what's in jet fuel. So it's JP4, JP5, I think JP8.
Plus all that super thermite.
And the thermite is a cover up. They had to let it burn for a while, man. They had to make it look good. So, and that's even saying and that's the thing that most people don't understand. Those people could still be alive. The people that were on those planes, because they could have taken those planes, switched them out, and they're just dummy planes, and there was nobody in there. And all those people that were on the planes were either killed, eliminated, or paid off.
Does jet fuel melt steel beams?
Nope. Sorry, people. Steel melts at 1,200 degrees. When you saw that first plane hit, the majority of the jet fuel, JP4, either JP4, JP5, or JP8, instantly, that's what the big fireball was. Whoosh. That went like there. And then once it started burning, which what you saw a lot of in the beginning was the building on fire, which is fine. They could have let that building burn for weeks at a time, because they've seen that happen in big buildings in the Middle East,
Malaysia and stuff like that.
Stuff like that. So they had to let it start burning in enough time for the other one. Now, where that Pennsylvania plane was supposed to go to the White House. And then if you look at what hit the Pentagon, I don't even think it was a plane. And from eyewitness reports, a Black Hawk helicopter came up and sent a missile into the Pentagon. And that's why they don't have any sort of security footage from the Pentagon, which that to me seems kind of hinky, because you're talking about one of the most secure buildings.
Yeah. If they wanted you to believe their story, they would show us the video.
And they'd show us the plane. They'd not only show us the video, they would just show us the actual plane.
There's video all over the place, not just from the gas station across the Pentagon.
But they went around, the federal government went around and confiscated
everything.
All of the video feeds and everything around there. So they showed us one direction coming from like the Pentagon parking lot of this thing hitting it, and nobody could tell what it was. And everybody that's analyzed it, because there's a big organization out there. Most people don't. It's called it's the 9/11 Truth. There's 9/11 Truthers or whatever, but within a subset of that is a bunch of scientists.
Well, it's also very important to remember,
or something like that. It was called
the day before 9/11. Donald Rumsfeld had just stated how the Pentagon couldn't account for $3 trillion. I
think
I didn't say billion, $3 trillion. Trillion.
I think they just made that announcement again. I think they did it again, and I think they're missing 6 or 7 trillion.
I'm sure they did, but what happened with that? We don't know. But because what happened?
That's black projects. That $3 trillion that disappeared. That's the CIA budget that you don't know about. That's the black budget. That's where all the, Area 51 money and the alien money's coming from. It'd be interesting, man. If somebody would just, I don't know, it's just going to take a brave alien or a brave reptilian person or one of these hollow earth people or whatever to just kind of just like say, fuck it. I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to morph on national television or something like that and give them the jig is up, because there's a lot of strange shit going on. About the underground, you remember when the tunnel was built, that thing called the mole that dug the tunnel from England to France, and they kind of drove that thing up out. Well, that mole supposedly has already done the underground train network that we have here in the United States. So we have these supersonic trains like in Japan and over in Saudi Arabia, they're putting all their trains on the surface. The United States built all their underground train network. And this, like, you have a center section, like Denver International Airport is allegedly, supposedly, it's only 2 stories when you go to Denver. You got the first floor and the second floor, but subterranean, it goes down more than 10 stories. And
They
that's
have that horse out front. Sorry for cutting you off.
not even a horse, dude. It's a Masonic temple. If you back before like 2001, you used to be able to walk around DIA, and they had these crazy ass post-apocalyptic murals and stuff. And then you could go to the capstone. Like when you walk into DIA, there's a big Masonic capstone. So it's actually a Masonic temple. The actual airport itself is a Masonic temple. And you could see it. And I remember traveling there whenever I was a kid, once they got it built, and then I was flying up there to go snowboard and stuff like that. We could walk around, and they had all of these crazy, crazy murals that are just like, what is this?
There's like gargoyles or something. When
all kinds of stuff. But they got them all. The murals are still there, but you can't get to them, and they're all covered up. They're all covered up now. They've left the murals there, but they've put other stuff on top of it, so you can't see them because of people like Alex Jones and stuff like that went through and said, "Hey, filming this stuff."
Love Alex Jones.
The horse is pretty creepy too. Like the artist that was making it, it broke and fell on him and killed him. And
yeah, I think that horse is supposed to represent one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. I think is what that means. That's supposed to represent is one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Trying to think of the name of them.
Yeah, but yeah, it's once you come out here, once you come out into the West, you start bumping into things like Masons and the Masonic temples and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying they're the secret societies now, because the majority of the Masons that I've met because my grandfather was a 33rd degree Mason. He was a very big Masonic guy. And what the guys are today, they don't control shit. They may control some of the small stuff in their little towns and stuff, but they've turned into like the Shriners. They're just like a drinking club, like the VFW or whatever, or they're not controlling things like the secret society.
Masons are supposed to be like people that are trying to better their lives and stuff. Like,
well, it depends on how you get into it, because anybody can be a Mason, but it's like the Masonic temple is basically for Masons is the Christian organization. If you look at the Shriners, that's the Muslims, because that's why they have the fuzzy hat, like the Grand Poobah hat. So those Shriners would be considered their religion, their anchor religion is Muslim religion or Islam. And then if you look at the Knights of Columbus, they're the Masonic version of it. And then within the Jewish religion, that's Kabbalah. So that's kind of where they all kind of follow. You have to be extremely religious, Christian in some, that's where it starts. So it starts at your local church, and then you'll be recruited by a Mason or something in that area. And if you're like me, because I'm like a generational Mason, I'm a legacy. So I could go to any Masonic temple that I wanted to. And I did it when I was out in California. I went into a couple of Masonic temples and basically brought something that I shouldn't have had, which was the Masonic Bibles. I actually have my grandfather's and my great-grandfather's Masonic Bibles, which is their manuals and stuff. And if you read them, you could try to figure out what the hell they're doing. But if you kind of look at it, it's like, this is hogwash. Whatever's in this is some made up stuff. Like with the Mormons, Joseph Smith or John Smith or whatever his name was, started the Mormon religion. He was a Mason at like 13. So, but yeah, it's not what they think it is now. And I've heard where the secret societies like the Illuminati, you know where their main recruitment event is every year?
Bayonne.
Bayonne.
Burning Man.
Oh, shit.
Burning Man is supposedly an Illuminati recruitment place. So that's where they go and get, because that's where all the, like, for a long time, Burning Man started out with just a bunch of hippies going out there. And then all of a sudden, all the tech industry and everything coming out of Silicon Valley, they got hip to it.
We could take a membership here, though. We'll take it here.
Yeah, right.
Small donation to sativacross.org, and you're in.
And you're in. Yeah. So, but it's. I wish I had the truth, but you're right, Lefty. Your diagram is right. We're on a big rock spinning around a big, huge fusion reactor, which is the sun. And we're hurtling ourselves through space. And
we're in its ass. We're hanging out of his ass, his asshole, the sun's asshole.
We're the only, and if you think about it, we're the only inhabitable planet around the sun. And so if you think about it, and this is what Hubble kind of proved now, and that's what they search for now, is they're searching for exoplanets, which is planets that can support life outside of our solar system. And that's what that new Webb telescope, and that's what they found out is there's a deep field. Hubble took a deep field view. There's this one photo that they did for Hubble, and it showed how many actual galaxies and solar systems are actually out there. And if you think about if there's just one inhabitable planet, there's millions and millions of inhabitable planets out there. And
did you see the video of Mars? It looks like the desert of USA, the West.
It does.
It looks like there's water.
And that's kind of like one of those things where people, did we actually send those things to Mars, or are they putting them in, like, making it look? This went out to them, because if you go out, and this is what I'd say to everybody, if you want to drive down to California, there's a place out in it's called Meteor Crater Park out in Arizona, and that's where they practice the moon landing and the moon landers and stuff. And if you go over and look down across the meteor crater, down there's a lander, and they actually they left it down there. There's a lander down there, a module that they practiced on, and then also the car that they drove around. It's out there as well.
It's very healthy, though, if people just don't automatically believe things because they hear it.
That's why I'm with everything. I believe in ghosts because I haven't ever seen one.
Obey.
Yeah. What was that movie with Rowdy Piper? They Live. What's the one with Rowdy Piper where he wore the glasses? Is called, I think it's They Live, or
They Live. Obey.
Now you're programming us. Wow. Well, I'm glad that you guys are doing well in New Jersey. And y'all don't have any snow. Is it stopped snowing there?
We're supposed to get some snow Friday.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
it's coming.
Okay. Y'all see what's going on? Have you seen California, like Mammoth, up in Mammoth area?
Yeah, I think I saw, was it like last week, 2 weeks ago? They got hit.
They're about to have another atmospheric, but it's actually hitting Southern California, not as much as in Northern California. They showed there's this one YouTube guy that's got his YouTube channel is just driving around Mammoth, and he's driving down a road, and there's like a 30-foot or 40-foot snowdrift where they've actually cleaned the major road, and he's driving by and you can't see the houses anymore. They're all covered in snow, and they're just buried, and people have cleaned out to the street in just their doorway. And it's a 30-foot, and it's just like a 30-foot drift on. It's high. It's like three or four stories high. And I was looking at it, I was like, Mammoth is like, oh, yeah. I mean, hopefully they're not going to complain about not having any water this summer, because that's going to take a while for that to melt, and then it's going to cause all kinds of flooding and stuff.
Well, wasn't like Lake Mead, I think it was, drying up.
I don't, now this is the thing. I have a hard time believing it's actually drying up. I think they're draining these reservoirs. I have a feeling that because it is like the Colorado River is taken out and used, I think 15 different times by the time it reaches from Colorado to Mexico, and it actually doesn't even dump into the Sea of Cortez anymore. So to me, I think they're actually draining the reservoirs just to clean them out, just to see what's down there and to see what it is. So they're just, and then, you know, of course they're using the water because they use it for agriculture and stuff like that. I mean, like Vegas would not exist if it wasn't for the Hoover Dam and Lake Mead and things like that over there in Lake Powell.
That's what they're saying powers it and stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah, powers Vegas. Yeah, I mean, Vegas doesn't depend on power directly from Hoover Dam anymore because they're buying energy from Texas. Everybody buys their energy now from Texas. That was what the whole Enron scandal was all about. When they started flipping switches on the West Coast, it was Enron in Houston doing that. It's like, hey, we need California to be paying more for electricity, so let's start causing those blackouts to happen. Start flipping these switches.
We're gonna invade you with Dunkin' Donuts and Popeyes.
Wawa.
No, I think if y'all brought, I think out here is believe it or not, Dunkin' Donuts is not very popular here. They actually shut down a Dunkin' Donuts around the corner from me. Made my dad mad. That's his favorite one. But,
people be in arms if you close the Dunkin' around here.
Yeah, we have every mile we have one.
I know you guys control the West Coast. There's a documentary called Donut King, on
yeah. Thanks.
Did you guys just set off your fire alarm?
Yeah, it's sweet hot box. Look at this. Look at you can't even see our feel the pot. Because
is that your smoke up there? Why don't you need to put a small exhaust fan. Dude, my dog is going nuts.
Hold it.
My dog just crawled up underneath the desk here. He hates that noise because it's the same sound as his shock collar. Is the beep from the I had to take no, that one's actually in here. I had to take them down in some parts of the house.
I hate when people don't change the batteries and you hear that one beep.
Oh,
it's like, just change the damn thing.
Man. And for me, there's 5 of them in the house. If I ever start hearing one beep, I'm like, it's the investigation. Which one are you? Which one is it?
Just hold it down.
Just pull it down and take out the battery. Just remember,
hold it for 10 seconds.
Reset it.
And you can put your finger over the speaker. Oh, okay, there you go.
Or you could take the broom, knock it off the wall, and take out the battery. I
take mine, I throw it into the couch when I cook. Otherwise, it starts going off.
Cook.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And they're heat detectors. They're not smoke detectors.
They're actually, you know what they are too? They're also carbon monoxide detectors.
That as well.
Yeah, you don't know. They do multi.
Why do we call them smoke detectors? Why have we been doing that for so long?
Well, because
lazy Americans.
The main component of smoke is carbon monoxide. When you have an incomplete combustion, that's where you get carbon monoxide out of your tailpipe. If we had complete combustion of our engines, our internal combustion engine, the only thing you would see coming out of your tailpipe is water. That's how come sometimes when you see a car that's been tuned really well, you see that little drip out of the tailpipe, because that's what's happening. You're creating two things when you burn gasoline in your car: CO, carbon monoxide, and water.
Well, it's super smoky in here, but it's not hot. The temperature didn't increase.
So you guys should be proud of yourselves.
It's smoky though.
Yeah, it's really hot and hot boxed.
That's what you guys. That's your weed show. You better be doing that. That's what
Lance,
Real does.
Are you ready for 710?
Yeah. I guess I better make a run. I'm gonna have to go get some extracts. I have to go get some oils and stuff like that.
We got 420 first, though, right? At the
we want Texas to take part in the 720 event.
I'll do our 710 event. I'll do the 710 event. The 420. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that's kind of played out like what they've done to 420 now.
Yeah, that's here in Jersey. That's local, but 710 is going to be national at every state house. If you can get to the state house, that's kind of far for you. That's a couple hours, right?
11 hours for me.
How is that possible? What?
You guys don't understand how fucking big Texas is.
Oh my!
They can be a whole.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You guys, if you only want to experience Texas, you just take the 40 and you come across Oklahoma and you hit the Panhandle, and then all of a sudden you're in New Mexico and you blow through Texas. I guarantee you, it will take you a full 2 days if you went from Beaumont or Vidor, Texas, or Orange, Texas, which is on I-10, to El Paso. It will take you the whole day, 24 hours, if you're driving it, to get across the state of Texas. It's that big, man. It's that huge. Yeah, if I wanted to go to the Gulf of Mexico, I think it's 14 hours from Amarillo to Corpus Christi.
When I went to Hawaii, it was the nicest, most beautiful places like in the world to like see it from the plane, like flying in. But before we got there, we stopped in Texas. And Texas was like it looked like a little league baseball field, like the whole thing. It's like dirt, it's brown.
Well, no, it's all divided up. When you're flying over, you look in Texas like there's a bunch of circles out there, a bunch of squares, because everything's been divided up in private property.
It was like monotoned. You know what I mean? It was like all just kind of like
it's a lot of farmland.
Main theme of brown.
Yeah, well, it depends on when you fly out. Like if you fly out during growing season, depending on where you fly, you'll fly over and the fields will be white or they'll be green or they'll be whatever, because it just depends on who owns the land. Like my family owns 160 acres and ours is pretty much fallow. We haven't farmed it, haven't put cows out on there and nothing. So it's green. And then it turns from green to brown and depending on the seasons and stuff. But yeah, a lot of families out here have land. Texas family, a lot of families have land. Like the 160 acres that we have in Wheeler, it's worth about, I think it's $54,000 an acre. I think it's $8.6 or $8.2 million just the land alone. And we don't own the mineral rights. Like if my grandfather wasn't stupid back then and would have bought the mineral rights to it, I'd be generationally wealth right now because there's oil pockets underneath that land. But there's a lot of families here in Texas that have, and that's how it gets passed on. You know, they just sold. I think they just sold T. Boone Pickens, who's the guy that did all the T. Boone Pickens did all the windmill stuff here in Texas. He just sold his Biggs family ranch. I think the 4-6s, which is where that stupid show is filmed with Kevin Costner. I forgot the name of it. On 1923. Oh, Yellowstone. The 4-6s just sold just recently, so that's another big ranch that's going to get split up. And the 4-6s owns pretty much all of the panhandle of Texas. And they're huge. We're talking 80 or 90,000 acres. It's huge. It's huge.
Wow.
Yeah, I've driven by the front gates of it. It's like you go by the front gates, and it's funny because for a while, like the family that was owning it, that actually had control of it, the wife, a wife side of the family, the grandmother and the grandfather, they had competing gates, like who could build the best gate. Like this is her side of the ranch, and this is our side of the ranch. And they had these huge entrances to go into the ranch and stuff. So, but yeah, it'll change your perspective. I recommend it to anybody if you guys could do it. It would just be hard to get you guys out of your comfort zone. Because right now, you guys are in a nice comfort zone, especially since they gave you what you wanted. You know, they're decriminalizing it a little bit for you. You've got your own access to weed.
We're about to be able to grow mushrooms.
Dude, that's going to change. That changes the game. And see, that's what I don't think everybody understood about the whole movement with cannabis. It's always been a part of the movement to let psychedelics coattail in right after weed, because weed's a low-level psychedelic, and then mushrooms come after it.
It's just
they start allowing you to grow
mushrooms before we get to grow weed.
Yeah.
Ain't that some shit?
Yeah, it is. I heard, and I don't know if it's true, you know, you hear things, but I heard that Senator Scutari has a friend who was arrested in his college dorm room for growing mushrooms, and part of the bill that's out there offers expungement. So if they expunge, then he can go to whatever school he probably wants to go to. Who knows?
What it'll do is it'll clean his record up so that he can actually go get a good job.
Right.
That's the thing, because that's what a lot of people are. I mean, that's all they have to do is give you some sort of conviction of on your record, and it changes who you can go work for. It did it to me.
That's the kind of solid that someone like, you know, in that position could very well do.
but you don't know how easy it is.
As a patient.
I don't think you guys understand how easy it is to grow mushrooms. It's not that hard.
They grow themselves. You don't have to grow them.
Right. And the number one thing when Colorado started doing it, I think when did they start doing it? 2016.
You just can't kill them. They grow themselves, and they'll all talk to you by looking at them. Need some more water.
Yeah, well, you can grow. What you're going to do is once you set up your little mycelium, which is your growth medium, and they start growing, you're meant to take that little cake and peel it off and expand it out. It's like and they'll never stop. Once you get an inoculated growth medium, they'll start replicating themselves, and that's why mushroom farmers, like historically, like once you get your inoculated medium started, and then you get the spore prints, and if everybody wants to know where you want to get the spores, they sell them online out of Arizona.
Totally legal too.
Yeah, they sell spore prints out of Arizona, and you can get the spore prints. Once you get the spore prints, you can take those spores and you can inoculate them. And if you look into it, Terrence McKenna was the big mushroom guy. Dennis McKenna and Terrence McKenna. You go look up the number of different species of mushrooms that are out there. There's way more than weed. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with mushrooms because everybody's microdosing and doing all that stuff now.
That's the next wave where we're in it.
What do you think that's going to do to us intellectually? Because once people start taking mushrooms and because where Terrence McKenna explained it like this: mushrooms are the plant kingdom, just like with weed, talking to the animal kingdom. It's like how they're cross communicating.
LSD grows your branches, and mushrooms set your roots.
Now, and where does LSD come from?
Right.
It comes from ergot mold. It comes from ergot mold. It's a mold that grows on rye, and that's why, like back when the Salem witch trials happened, that's how that happened. Is because they got a hold of a bunch of bad rye bread. They had used rye, ergot mold, contaminated rye grain to produce that time period of whatever they produced, and they've drawn it back to that's what it was. So they were poisoned themselves with the psychedelic LSD and talking to demons or whatever the hell they were wanting to talk to, and then they ended up, Salem witch trials. But yeah, so and that's the same way with if you look at with cannabis. Like, think about the weed that we used to smoke in the 1980s. Think about the dirt weed that we used to smoke, and then look where it is now.
Try not to.
I know it was swag. It was bricked out swag. It was nasty. It was not what it is now.
Saw weed not that long ago. Someone had weed.
Yeah,
that wasn't that long ago. That was pretty bad.
No, it was bad swag.
That's what I mean. For swag, it was for swag.
I wouldn't have bought that weed.
Believe it or not, you can still get swag in the United States because the cartels are still growing it in Mexico.
We saw it.
Yeah, we saw it.
We saw it.
That was grown here, though, I think.
Yeah, it was like 4 months ago, something like that.
Yeah, he grew it here. He was proud of it.
And he was smoking the seeds, apparently,
and
too.
Adding seeds to the joints.
Adding seeds to the joints. Saying that there was medical benefits in the seeds.
You know what? This is the biggest fallacy that we need to get over with, is because someone told me back when I was young that if you eat pot seeds, it makes you sterile. So it can be a form of male birth control.
Don't believe that.
I have 3 fucking kids, man.
I like eating seeds, actually.
You used to be able to, whenever I was younger, you could go into, there was health food stores that sold hemp seeds, and you could eat them and stuff. You can still buy them in some places. They sell them, they're hemp hearts and stuff like that.
Yeah, Aldi's has them.
Yeah, it's hemp seeds used to be, I used to love eating them, but that was.
They put hemp seeds in like a lot of things now that you see like advertised as cannabis products.
Yeah, it's hemp seed. Oh, well, it's because of the Hemp Act of 2018. When Trump, before he came out of office or actually middle of his term, he did the Hemp Act of 2018, which pretty much for states like Texas or Kentucky or whatever, that's where we started getting all the CBD the CBD stuff was coming out, and it's all CBD this, CBD that, and it's all hemp based, and it's coming from those strains that have been considered, less than, I think it's 0.3% between, I think it's 0.3% and 0.6% THC. But yeah, no, and they don't even, I mean, that's the thing about it now is like the biochemistry of the pot plant, we're just at the beginning of it because of the stereochemistry of, and if you understand what stereochemistry is, you know how that works, because it's cyclical. So there's chiral centers where molecules kind of twist. So delta 8, delta 9, well, there's a delta 1 THC all the way up to 360. Now, we haven't seen 360 versions of the THC molecule because nobody's going after that. But that's where delta 8 came into, delta 9. Now they have delta 10. And then your CBDs are the same way. So there's 360 different versions of the CBDs, but they're not using delta 1, 2, 3. That's where they're using the A, B, C, D, G, and they're up to G. I don't know what number they're up to or what letter they're up in the alphabet now. But yeah, so the actual research on what this actual plant is, and so goes back to what I was saying about what THC is. It's a classic birds and the bees. We're the bees, and the pot plant has communicated with us. The plant itself got into us around the 19 whatever up until like the 1937s. 37 when it was actually outlawed, and it's been using us to propagate itself around the planet. So we're the pollinators. So we're coming in, we're growing our pot plants, and so the actual pot plant itself has communicated to us as at a young age, whatever age you were when you discovered the cannabinoids, and you've been programmed to spread this plant around the planet. Same way with mushrooms. I knew a guy back in like pre 2000s that his dad was the pot grower and he was the mushroom grower, and he grew two different types of psilocybin, cubanus and psilocybin something, two Mexican strains, and he swore to God that his mushrooms were talking to him, like literally. And he had like an underground like vault that he had like those 100-gallon coolers that you see from Igloo. He had like 50 of those things filled with mushrooms. And he set me down. He's like, dude, I know you love pot, but I mean, to tell you what's really happening here is like, those motherfuckers are talking to me. They're making me do this. And I was like, okay, man, whatever you say. Sure, whatever. But yeah, it's like Terrence McKenna says, it's the plant kingdom talking to the animal kingdom. And we'll just have to see where this goes, who knows where it's going to take us. I mean, I may not be around to even see it, but we're going to start injecting these psychedelics like the MK Ultra project did. But that's LSD. And it started with mescaline, peyote, things like that. And then they isolated with a Nazi. They got, Aldous Huxley, I think was his name, was the LSD chemist. And once he created LSD, they started using psychedelics to try to find. They were trying to find it as a truth serum.
I think it was Albert Hoffman.
Albert Hoffman, that's right. Aldous Huxley was the author. You're right.
Here we go. Ergot was the likely cause of St. Anthony's fire, and Jesus was a mushroom. Thank you.
Well, that's the other thing too, that the mushroom.
And what about the Malaysian airline flight that went missing?
Yeah. What about the Malaysian airline? What happened there, Lance?
Dude, that was a crazy pilot that decided that day to take all of those other people with him.
Did they go inside the hollow earth?
Who knows, man? It may be the same people that were on the planes on 9/11. Maybe they were given the deal. Like, hey, man, we could kill you or you can take the payoff. But the payoff is you can't talk to anybody in your family ever again. We're going to fake your death and you're going to win the lottery. And you can go live anywhere you want in the world. And we're going to give you an endless amount of supply of money. But you got to keep your mouth shut about 9/11. So who knows what happened to the MH370 or whatever it was. All I know is that Sucks for those people that were on that plane because that was a cross. That was supposed to be going over the Pacific or the Atlantic, I think. It's either the Atlantic or the Pacific.
Well, the Bermuda Triangle is notoriously dangerous, and you know what it is over there. They figured it out. Well, I think they figured it out. It's underwater volcanoes.
Yeah,
that create an air bubble.
It's methane gas.
Methane gas
releasing it changes the pressure of the atmosphere.
The airplane
so it
just drops. They just go into a wing stall.
Because you notice we haven't heard many things disappearing in the Bermuda Triangle lately.
And it also aligns with all of the what do you call it? You know, all the
Caribbean
tectonics or whatever. You know, they all line up.
And also the Caribbean islands that are all over there.
Yeah. So you never know when there's an underwater volcano burping or farting, whatever you want to say. Then it's going to take a plane down. If it hits you, bubbles your plane, man.
Who knows? That's
Right.
what I'm saying. We don't know because we're not there to see it. You're not there to see it. You're just not there to see it. And so something happens. Just like with, I would love, and that's another thing you do when you drive out here on this side of the planet. You start seeing things in the sky. Like the biggest thing that we can see now, I can see those every once in a while. There'll be a string of satellites sweeping across the sky. Guess what that is? Starlink. You can actually see Elon Musk's Starlink satellites. They're at such a geosynchronous orbit around the planet that you can actually see them. You can actually, and sometimes if you know what you're looking at, you can see the space station fly by.
Yeah, they have apps and stuff like that. You could follow that stuff if you're interested in it.
Yeah, and you can look at it. So out here, whenever you get away from the big cities and stuff, and you start looking up, and in the middle of the night and stuff, it is really, really dark. There's some strange shit that's up in our sky. And that's why we're not going to see the comet that's going to hit us or the asteroid that's going to hit us. They'll have already known about it, like the powers that be, NASA, whatever, and those guys will be in the underground bunkers or whatever. And they'll be like, oh, here it comes. And then all of a sudden, boom, it'll happen, whatever. So, but we'll see. So that's my big push for guys to get out of New Jersey and just take it. I don't mean move out here. You don't have to unless you're committed, because you're gonna have to understand it's gonna be a culture shock for you. Like there are places
explore.
Yeah, there are and I would just try to be as normal looking as possible, and don't drive a car with a bunch of deadhead stickers on it, a bunch of weed stickers, because that's just you need to drive in a white car with tinted windows, no stickers, and you need to be kind of clean cut looking, because they'll pull you over for almost anything, anywhere and anything. And the first thing they do is like, hey, we smell weed. And that's the first thing they do. That's a new thing now. It's not about you drinking and driving and stuff like that. It's like, oh, you got weed in the car. And that's how they get in people. And that's all. That's just an entrance into your car so that they can then find everything else.
Hands, grenades, dead bodies, all that.
Whatever. And I'm not going to say that there's normal people out here. We have a collection of really, there's super smart people here in the state of Texas, but where there's always these super smart people, there's always that other side of the spectrum, which means over here. And they found that a lot of people from the U.S. Census live their whole lives within 100 miles. So if you think about that for a minute, is like a lot of people are born and die within 100 miles of where they were born. And if you think about that a long time ago, that's where you get into inbreeding. And that's why they banned polygamy and things like that, is because you start causing genetic problems. When family members start marrying family members and procreating, that's when we start de-evolving. Instead of evolving, you're all of a sudden you start going the other way. And there are some people that, IQ of 50. You're like, oh, where'd this guy come from?
Who seem to be much more happier.
Well, ignorance is bliss. Because you talk to somebody with the happiest people in the world, Down syndrome people with an extra chromosome. They're just like the happiest. If every Down syndrome patient that I've ever met, or anybody that's had Down syndrome, those are the best people to be around. they're super happy. They're always positive. They're like this and that, and then and they're evolving because they just have an extra chromosome, and technically they're evolving. They developed an extra chromosome, and it's on the Y somewhere. I think it's on the Y chromosome somewhere. Why? No, it's got to be on the X chromosome because there's females as well. So, but yeah, it's just we don't know. We'll see. And that's why I like to. We're just, it's yet to be determined. I just hope we all get to see naturally move on, because I really don't want to show up to whatever's on the other side with 8 billion people, because we just destroyed the planet. Because you think about the lines and the chaos that's going to be going on. If we had to instantly take 8 billion people and put them through the porthole to go on to the other side or do what we got to do, I mean, it'll be in. Thank God for the devil. Maybe half will go to heaven and half will go to the hell. And, maybe they'll split the whole group up and say, 4 billion got to go here. Another 4 billion got to go over here. And then
draw straws or something.
And then we have to process ourselves through whatever has to happen. I'm like, oh my God, no way. And hopefully it happens naturally, and hopefully it's painless. I say that a lot to people because, who knows what's on the other side. There's a movie out there if you want to watch. It's called Enter the Void. I don't know if anybody's ever. There's a director named Gaspar Noir, and he did a movie called Enter the Void. And it's based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and it shows how it's pretty cool. And it's kind of trippy too. So if you want to take mushrooms and smoke a bunch of weed and watch it, it's pretty cool.
Right on.
Interstellar was pretty trippy.
Yeah, that was trippy too. That is trippy. Yeah, because wasn't it like Interstellar was like
something about with time, like he like
where he went, and he went like into the future, I think. I can't remember. Oh no, he actually was trying to, and then he was communicating with what's her name? I forgot her name, Jodie Foster, through
a dimension of some sort or something.
Yeah. Trying to communicate.
It was like almost invisible, but like he can physically move things and yeah, it was crazy.
It was crazy. And then to find out that he was dead, the whole thing. Yeah, who knows? We could all be dead. This could all be a simulation anyways. We could all be just kind of hanging out in purgatory until our time's up.
We're in loading screen right now.
Yeah, we're in loading screen, right? Because that's what believe it or not, high level astrophysicists have looked at the universe, and the one thing when they break it down, the universe, and looking at the repeating patterns, it all comes down to a binary language of zeros and ones. They can break down the universe into binary, that's where it comes into thinking that we're all living in a simulation right now. It's just a computer simulation, and we're just here to experience whatever it is, and we're all just kind of tapped into that, whatever it is. So, but I'm enjoying
Is it Matrix?
I don't, man. I would love for it to be the Matrix, because we're all badass fighters and we're all walking around kicking the shit out of each other.
It's need to load a certain file.
Right. Man, I don't know. If it was a simulation like the Matrix, then I'm not very good at creating my own Matrix right now.
Yeah, I hear you.
I should have been a little bit more creative where I was over there when I was being a programmer on the other side. That's why I liked Tron, because that's what kind of like Tron was, the old one and the new one as well. That was creating that simulation inside the computer and stuff. So you're going to get all the answers when you die, but the only problem is you can't come back and tell everybody here. That's the only thing I wish I could do. If I die, I want to be able to communicate with my past, like the people that are left behind, just to come back and say, hey, and I don't have to come back in my physical form. Just let me be able to leave notes for people or send somebody an email.
I just want a book of all my stats, like any stat I had to look up. Like there it is, boom, number.
Let's talk about your birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yes.
It is your birthday. It is your birthday. It is your birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to
Your birthday.
Gabriel Fallopino,
Your birthday.
inventor of the fallopian tubes.
Happy birthday.
Oh well, the inventor of
It is your birthday.
artificial fallopian tube.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, Gabriel Filipino. The fallopian tubes are named after him. He was really into the vagina apparently, and he named a lot of vaginal parts after Mr. Filipino.
Good for him.
He did a lot for the vagina. Apparently, this guy.
He's really into it.
He's an expert.
What year was that he named the fallopian tube? What year is it? Did they give a year?
1500s. He described the circular and oval windows, the vestibule, and the cochlea. The first to point out the connection between mastoid cells and the middle ear. Oh,
wow.
Lacrimal ducts in the eye. He was really. Oh, he's a busy guy.
You know, you know what those guys were, right? Those were the grave robbers. Because that's what this is what back then it was the dudes that were like, I'm going to figure out how the human body works.
Yeah, he just did.
Oh, this is important. He was the first to describe the ileocecal valve, which prevents the reflux of fecal matter from the colon to the small intestine. Thank you, Gabriel Filipino.
Yeah, so it's that little part that keeps you from fucking shitting yourself. That's awesome.
That's amazing. He discovered that.
And that's Benjamin Franklin, his house over in England. Whenever they excavated in his house, they found a bunch of bodies underneath his house, like hundreds of bodies underneath Benjamin Franklin's old house, and that's where he used to bury the bodies that he would do his research on.
Oh, you see, yeah, Filipino was like the Christopher Columbus of the colon.
That's.
So thank you.
I can tell you right now, he was not the popular guy in town. He was not.
I also have a feeling he wasn't the first. He was just who has been credited as the first.
Yes,
right. We don't know this stuff. We all just want to know everything. We don't know.
Well, back then in the 1500s and stuff, you were chosen at a young age. You're either going to be an intellectual, you're either going to be a peasant, or you're going to be a warrior. So if you were super smart, they would say, okay, you could go this way, and every town had their intellectuals, and that's what they would do. Somebody would die in town, a poor person probably, and then before they buried them, they would let the scientists say, have at it, cut this person open and find out what makes this person work, and everybody had their expertise. And today it's just a modern medical, if somebody donates their body for science, that's what they end up doing. They'll take you in and, you can have a nice little memorial service or whatever. And then the body goes out a door and sends off to gross anatomy. Have anybody ever taken gross anatomy in college? That's what you're doing. You're dissecting a human. Unfortunately for me, I actually took gross anatomy in college, and yeah, I got to dissect a human. And that's when I decided I didn't want to be a doctor. I was like, fuck this shit.
I remember they used to have an exhibit in New York. It was called Bodies. And
I think over in Europe, there is still an exhibit, because I think he's either German or he's European. But yeah, where they would slice open horses and bodies and stuff, and they plasticize. They used some sort of plasticization to segment these bodies. Yeah.
I always wanted to check it out. I never did. I've seen pictures.
I think maybe in Vegas they might still have a display in Vegas but they did a horse. I remember them doing a horse, doing a male. I know they did a mom and a child.
They also have body farms where they have like dead bodies that are just rotting out in the sun, so they can tell like how long has the body been rotting there for.
That's how they determine. That's the University of. You want to know where that is?
Yeah, I was going to say it's a university. Which one is it?
University of Mississippi.
They put the cage over it, right?
Yeah, no, they have a spot. They have a spot where they'll go out and they will just take a body and then they'll put it out there and then they watch it over us. It's a class.
Wait, same place as that does what? What university does what?
That's where G13 came from. That's where that's where the only place where our university research was going on here in the United States for a long time was the University of Mississippi. And they have their cannabis research farm out there.
that they were growing for the federal patients that they had, like the 10 federal patients or whatever it was.
I think they still do, because I think there's still some. I think there's still some alive. There may be like 5 or 6 of them still alive. But yeah, that's how they determined. And do you know how they determine how somebody's died? You know what the first thing is that lands on a body and starts how they do that? What they're actually looking for? It's the common housefly. The housefly is the first thing that will land on a body, like a rotten piece of meat, and then it lays its eggs, and then that's where the maggots come from. That's how it starts. You're grossed out yet, there, Lefty?
That's awful.
Well, no, it's what this. How do we people find out about this stuff? You have to do research, and this is just part of doing research. And they convince people that this is a good thing, especially if you want to be an FBI. Right. Well, if you want to be CSI, you're gonna have to know how those bodies die. What is it? They call them. What are those guys called? The medical examiners. If you want to be an ME or anything like that, you gotta be more familiar with the dead than you do with the living.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of medical examiners in the country, but there's only like something like 600 forensic medical examiners, because you have to be able to smell cyanide, which is 10% of the population.
Right.
So 10% of the medical examiners have the opportunity to be a forensic medical examiner only if they can smell cyanide.
That's weird.
Yeah, so like when they go to like universities and like you're like to see the dissections or whatever,
right?
Whoever in the room smells the cyanide, the medical examiner says you are one of the few who can be a forensic pathologist.
Yeah, but could you, first of all,
because there's not like that, you got to be able to smell it.
Rotting a dead body, and I don't know if any of you guys have ever smelled a dead body before. Once that smell gets in your nose and you smell that smell never goes away. And it's not like a skunk that got hit or a deer that's got hit. You'll know if it's a dead body. It's been in there for a while. I had a medical patient out in California, and we hadn't heard from her. She'd come in, whatever, and before I got diagnosed with MS, and she died in her apartment or in her condo. And she had 5 cats and 5 dogs. And she laid there for 3 weeks before anybody found her or what was left of her, because her cats and her dogs decided they were going to, finish off what was left. And I remember how I was part of the crew of guys that volunteered to go in there and clean out the house. And I'm going to tell you right now, you'll never forget. That smell doesn't come out. I felt sorry for the people that lived in this little condo complex, because they owned their condos, and these were like $500,000 condos. These were not cheap condos. And I remember when we showed up to start doing it, because they'd already taken the cats and the dogs, and they took those guys off, and the body's gone, and everything's gone. But the smell that was left over in this condo, and it was not cool. So that's why I think it's always nice if you know somebody that's elderly, things like that, just kind of check in on them every once in a while, because they'll choke on a chicken bone and lay there for 3 weeks, and then you'll see what happens. And animals don't care. Food is food to cats and dogs. Once you stop feeding them, they're going to eat you. If there's no other food around, they'll eat you when they get fined, because if you can't let them out, and they don't know how to bust out a window. So yeah, it was definitely one of those things, being a part of the medical marijuana movement out in California. When I got a part of that side of it, going in and trying to help these families when somebody dies, and a lot of them were very chronically ill people. Like that's kind of like how I got into it, like big time, was because I was checking on patients because they weren't allowed to go into the dispensaries, or they couldn't get out of their rooms or whatever. And we had a little system amongst a bunch of friends of mine. We would just check on these patients. And after that happened, I kind of started putting out there among these dispensaries and stuff. It was like, hey, if you've got a medical marijuana patient that's you haven't seen them for a while, you might want to do a drop in. You might want to go check. You might want to go see if they're still alive. And if they're not, you'll know when you walk up to the door whether or not they're still there or not. So it's just kind of like, have your backs, because that to me, that was like, I didn't know this was a part of the movement. And then I started saying that's why my patient advocacy started going the way it is, less recreational, more medicinal side, because we're all going to end up in two places. You're all going to end up in diapers, fellas. I'm going to tell you right now, you're all going to end up back in diapers, and you're all going to end up in a wheelchair. Eventually, if you live long enough, you're going to start wearing diapers again, and you're going to be definitely in some form of a wheelchair. We're just lucky now that our wheelchairs are high tech, and, those electric wheelchairs are awesome. We can get around, and, we don't have to push ourselves anymore. I feel sorry for somebody that's in a manual wheelchair, and the guys that are paraplegics that are just used to sitting in a wheelchair, even though they're nice. They got a nice $5,000 wheelchair, but I'll take my electric wheelchairs anytime.
Or the travelers, where you can't even reach the wheels to push it. Well, you have to be pushed by somebody. You ever see those? All the wheels are small, so you can't reach them.
Yeah. You
have to be pushed. Hey, when does a wheelchair lose their rights and become a privilege?
I think. What do you mean lose our rights?
Well, right now we have the right to drive in the street without a license, without any licensing, without any.
Oh, I can tell you that right now. If your wheelchair is, I think I found out that those electric bikes and stuff, they have to be under 750 watts.
Watt.
Yeah, I think it's what it is, and because they're having a big debate out in California right now, because Harley Davidson has put out an electric motorcycle, and they're starting to put out electric motorcycles that are like 7,500 watts instead of 750. So once we have in these ours is not. I mean, I don't know what mine is. I don't think mine's. Shoot, I may be only about 30 watts. I think these electric wheelchairs aren't that powerful because we have 24 volts. So I don't know what it actually comes out with the wattage engine. I'd have to look on my engine to see what it is. But once we get to a point where we're mowing people down on sidewalks, we're going to have to get a license. And what that license is your handicap placard. As far as I'm concerned, once you get your handicap placard, that's your license for a wheelchair or any sort of adaptive stuff.
That's true. Yeah, if you had a license, you could do whatever the fuck you want. So I like that. You drive it in the street. You want to drive in the street doing 40 miles an hour in your wheelchair? Go for it. I like that idea. I'm ready.
Dude, I can tell you right now, the one thing my family doesn't want to do is they don't take me to the mall. Like we have this I forgot what it's called, whatever mall it is here in town, because we're a one-level mall, but it's all spread out wide and stuff. And I'll get in my three-wheel. I haven't even taken my six-wheel one there yet. If I took my six-wheel one, dude, I'll run you ragged because I'll put that shit on. I'll put it on rabbit full speed and just be a wah, zip. I did it to my girlfriend one day. She wanted to go to the mall. I was like, "You want to go to the mall? Let's go to the mall."
They can't keep up.
You just got to keep up.
They can't keep up.
No, ran her ragged. And then we went into, I think it was Bed Bath and Beyond, and she got hit by all of the fragrances and stuff, and instantly started like, "Oh, we gotta leave. I gotta leave. We gotta get out of here." Because then she went out. We didn't even make it from one end of the mall to the next. We literally did not make it from one end of the mall to the next.
What happens?
She was done.
We got to tap out too. Hey, I want to thank cmmnj.org, Canasense, UFCW, Local 152, JacksonStorms.com, Smoking Monkey, Arlo Glass, OprahMachine.com, and Pure Puff Lifestyle Shop. And you can donate at sativacross.org if you're feeling if you feel like you have to throw up. Well, here, it'll make you here. If you feel like this, there. Donate to sativacross.org. You feel better.
And I'm gonna put it out there to you guys, man. If you guys get on the road and you're anywhere around here and stuff,
makes sense.
You guys can swing through, and I'll put you up for a night. you know, and figure it out. Because, you know, it's always nice to have people coming across the country to make a halfway stop, you know,
Nice.
but because I'm trying to get out to New Jersey, but there's something wrong with her. I think something happened in New Jersey. I keep telling her, I was like, what's the matter? Your family a part of the mob or something, and you've been told not to come home? Like, what is it really? I mean, why do you not want to go back to New Jersey? What's the problem? I think she's afraid I'm going to leave her there because she's always talking about how New Jersey's this and New Jersey's that, and New York's so great. And I was like, if it's so great, why don't you just go back? Why don't you just go visit? It's like, no, I go visit them in Florida. When my family goes down to Florida, I'll just go down to Florida and visit. I don't want to go back to New Jersey. It's too expensive. Then she starts talking about the subway. And I was like, well, then I thought it was so great. It's like, no, it's not that great.
I want to start our list tonight with Cheryl, Sabina, Diane, Gracie, Cindy Mae, Marie, Jack, Joan, Randy, Polly, Bill, Chad, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ, Roger, Jay, Ella, Hattie, Jackie, Anthony, Jake, Armando, Felicia, Lynn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Mike, Frank, Brian, Flo, Carl, Thorne, Frank, Lorraine, Terry, Charlotte, Cher, Jaybird, Marley, Michael Dillon, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico, Lulu, Becky, and Jeff.
How many people you got on that list now, man?
I don't know.
You should put that in an Excel file someday and just count that shit.
1 out of 10 of us. 1 out of 10 of us every year.
Wow. Well, you know what? At least you guys are alive and kicking.
That's right. We're here for a reason.
Well, we're just trying to get it out there, man. And whether we're talking about, you know, the space rock or whatever, it's giving people it's a platform for cannabis users. And when this thing takes off, and I'm not saying it's going to take off, hopefully I'll live to see it take off, but eventually sativacross.org, it's going to take off, man. And once it does, you better be ready, man. You just better be ready to continue doing what you're doing in a nice format that you have, because it's going to because we're going to need a platform like this, especially once it's you know, once it gets to whatever's going to happen. You know, like I said, if we had one representative from every state, and you've already pretty much got the East Coast pretty much sealed up. You got contacts.
Some of it. We have to get more states for 710. We want 20 states this year. 20. That's a big number. But, you know, we'll get there.
Dude, I tell you right now, if I make it down to the State House and go down to Austin, it'll be like January 6th.
That'd be sick.
I'll go to Abbott's office because he's in a fucking wheelchair, man. Our governor is in a wheelchair. If anybody should be for medical marijuana, it should be a governor that's in the goddamn wheelchair.
Is he for it?
No.
Texas.
And it's actually not even the governor, it's the lieutenant governor. And I don't know if anybody knows who our lieutenant governor is. Do you know who Dan Patrick is? Is that name familiar to anybody?
Yes, commentator.
Commentator from ESPN.
Get the hell out of here.
Dan Patrick is lieutenant governor of Texas. What? So a man who started out on ESPN being a sports commentator is what's holding up medical marijuana in the state of Texas.
Sounds about right.
So it's just, you know, and I would do it. I would try to get to Abbott's office. I don't think I'd be able to get there without getting arrested, but you know, I'd go in there and it's like, you know, it's about time. But we ours just our judicial committee or whatever it was for cannabis. Like I said, they just passed 9-0. So they've sent it to the House for the House bill. I think it's House bill. I want to say it's 216 or something like that. I don't know what the number is, but it's going to die in committee. It's come out of committee now and it's going to die on the House floor. They're never going to bring it to the House for a vote. That's how they get away with it.
His middle name is Gob. Gob Patrick. Dan Gob Patrick.
The Godfather.
The Godfather.
So you know what I bet you he's one of these reptilian motherfuckers, or shapeshifters, whatever it is, the lizard people.
He's deep state. No, he's deep media. He's deep media.
Well, he's definitely
state controlled media. He's part of it. The state controlled media.
Yeah, that's why they say a lot of people talk about why some people don't like sports. Like a lot of intellectuals don't like sports because it's meant to distract the male population.
This is nuts. This is crazy. I didn't know this guy was there.
That's what I'm saying. It's stranger than fiction. You think that's what I'm saying. We're living in a simulation.
We're being tested on all fronts.
Yeah.
Listen, Lance, thank you so much, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah.
And
Mike, take care, buddy.
Let's
thank you.
I want to see some more public art projects. You got to come up with something else. Either start putting up more basketball goals, or you need to go around and start putting more bricks in the ground.
Yeah, I have a couple other ideas. You'll be just keep paying attention. You'll see.
My bad. I clicked back, then it exited me out of it.
That's all right.
We got you. All right,
Seth, get me back in because I want to say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah, goodbye.
Good night, man.
Good night, guys.
Seth. You're coming through this area and you want to fucking have a place to stop, you're here. And then I can give you.
That's a nice ride.
Interesting guy. Like you have a lot of good stuff to say.
Well, pot is only one thing that I'm an expert at.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Have a good night, guys.
Good night, guys.
They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.